Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs for caring for your home. Out. Indecision, overthinking, second-guessing every choice you make. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Beige on beige on beige. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
This week, in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, women begin disappearing and investigators start to suspect a serial killer, but they never imagine the horrors that they eventually uncover. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us. Jimmy, you're very enthusiastic today. I like that. He loaded it up. He put his head back like a coyote in a cartoon. Like he had to give it a pause and then let it out. So good job, Jimmy. Thank you,
Alan
folks.
At the blood moon.
That's right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate it more than you could know. Back again. It's been crazy lately with the show. Lots of crazy stories lately. And today... Sure. Whew, boy, today's one we've been kind of sitting on for years, actually, waiting to go back to Rhode Island to do it. And it's a crazy episode. We'll get to that. We'll get the town stuff done very quickly today because there's a lot of murder to talk about here. Oh, yeah. Very quickly, though, I want to thank all of you out there for, number one, your reviews this week. Thank you for that. Apple Podcast, that purple icon, giving us 5 stars helps us for some reason, and we don't know why. But thank you for doing it. Yeah. And please do it if you haven't. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now, immediately. Go and check out first of all, merchandise, tons of merchandise, shirts and shoes and bags and things and stuff and mugs and you name it. Mm-hmm. We have it on there. Check all that out and check out tickets to live shows because they are coming. hopefully to your area all throughout. We have the very end of 2021, and then most of those are sold out, but I think there's a couple I think New York has tickets, and then 2022 going, and I think we confirmed our Nashville date.
Yes.
The Nashville live show that's been delayed many, many times will be January, what is it, the 11th or 12th?
11th and 12th? Early January.
It's going to be 11th or 12th. It'll be up on, we'll put it on social media, shutupandgivememurder.com. You can check it out there. So check all that out. Get your tickets to live shows. Check out Crime and Sports also if you haven't done that. And also check out P.S. I Hate This Movie because I have to watch terrible movies. I got Justin Timberlake last week. I got Twilight coming up this week. I got my hands full over here. So check that out. And most of all, check out Patreon because Patreon is going crazy.
That's where we do it.
It's so good. Last week, the last one was the Richard Ramirez childhood, which was bonkers. Ridiculous. And then this week, our 2 bonus episodes are going to be number 1 for Crime and Sports, which you'll have access to because you have access to everything, the whole back catalog, both shows, is backstage wrestling fights. So you don't have to care about sports to hear about 2 roided up guys, probably on other drugs as well, beating the crap out of each other in a locker room. That's going to be funny.
Over something that they probably shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah. The ridiculous things. That's fun stuff. And then Small Town Murder, we're going to do something that we do every once in a while. All the returning ones are favorites, ones that we do more than once. We're going to go back into the newspaper archives and find some batshit crazy old-timey murders.
Terrific. Late
1800s, early 1900s. The murders were just weirder back then. I don't know why. And the reporting of them was
the attention paid to it is crazy.
So matter of fact. So check that out. Patreon.com/crime and sports right now for all of that. And
utter disregard for human life.
It's just insanity. You have to hear these things. You can't, these old accounts of murder are wild. So like we said, patreon.com/crime and sports, and you'll be a producer. So you'll get a shout out at the end of the show. Jimmy is going to mispronounce your name horribly. And if you just want to have your name mispronounced, be a producer and have great karma and our undying affection, you can do that over at PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com.
And thank you.
Thank you, honestly. Quickly, the disclaimer, this is a comedy show. Now, what it is, there's going to be horrible murders. That's what happens here at Small Town Murder. But we're comedians, so we're going to find jokes places. Right. That's the thing. That's what we do. We can't help it. It's just what happens. If we were to talk about this and it's not recording, we'd make jokes. Thing is, we don't make jokes about certain things. That's the thing. We go out of our way to not make jokes about the victims or the victims' families.
Why?
Because we're assholes.
But
we're not scumbags, Jimmy. That's how it works here. Yeah. There's plenty to talk about. Like, what made you think you could get away with murder, stupid? That's funny. Making fun of a murderer is funny. There's things like that you can talk about around a murder. The idea, I think I'll kill that person. That's a crazy idea that deserves to be looked at. So that said, if you think that true crime and comedy maybe should never ever cross paths, maybe we're not for you. We don't want to hear any complaining afterwards. And but if you want to hear a crazy story and hang out, I think it's time to sit back and shout, Shut up
and give me
murder.
That's right.
Sorry, I went off on that one. Kind of took that one over. I apologize.
You did.
Jimmy just stopped and looked at me like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Good Lord, man.
I put my head back like you when you did your yay there. That was a lot. It was a murder to the moon there. So let's do this. Let's go on a trip, Jimmy, shall we?
Let's get this rig rolling.
Let's do it. Let's head out of the in the Midwest there. We're down south, out west. We Apache Junction.
Yeah.
And let's head all the way to the East Coast over here.
All right.
To the smallest state in the country by far. You can just basically throw a baseball across it and get it to the ocean. We're going all the way to Rhode Island, baby. Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Woonsocket.
Like W-O-O?
W-O-O-N, socket, like a wrench.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it. Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I was like, is there a weird pronunciation? Nope, Woonsocket. That's it.
Is this Wuhan?
Yeah, who knows? It's in northeastern Rhode Island, kind of right up at the tip, off the top of it. It's the whole state's just a panhandle, so it doesn't matter. Enjoy your panhandlery.
Tiny pan.
Tiny pan. That's it. It's all in the pan. 20 minutes over to Providence because everything is close in Rhode Island because it's not that big. And Providence is, the big city there. About an hour to Boston. It's a kind of Providence feels like it's a Boston suburb. That's
I mean, Massachusetts could probably annex all of that, right?
It's pretty much they get like Massachusetts news, like the Red Sox scores are at the top of the newscasts and shit like that. So
part of New England.
Yeah, it's an hour to Little Compton, Rhode Island, which was our last Rhode Island episode, episode 139. This is 225 right now, so that's how long ago. October 3rd, 2019 was the last time we visited Rhode Island. So
was there a mention of like a Lil MC Ren or something like that?
Oh, we had a lot. There was a lot. A lot of
little guys.
A lot of little somethings there. All sorts of little jokes in that episode. It's in Providence County, area code 401, 8 square miles, and their motto here is, I mean, Jesus, they have 2 mottos that are like real mottos that are on like the website that are true. One is a city on the move, which is pretty lame. I hope you didn't hire someone to come up with that one. And then the other one, it says all over the website, quote, getting it done.
Okay.
So then there's a third motto.
Is that like a New England hillbilly for get her done?
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? City on the move. So they're moving and getting done. So then the third one, which is kind of more, they don't put it right on the website, but it's there, is, do you know where I can get some Coke? Because I have to, I'm on the move and I got to get a lot done. So I need Coke. So we'll go over very quickly with the history, and we won't do too much. A lot of this place is hugely influenced by French culture. A lot of French,
is that right?
Yeah, a lot of French Canadians moved here for some reason. The city had the 6th largest population of French or French Canadian foreign nationals in the entire country in 1913. So back then, now reviews of this town, we'll let the people from the town tell you about the town more than we will today. Yeah. All right, here's a 5-star. Okay, 5 stars. So this is as good as it gets. Quote, it has a good, and by the way, just to remind you again, we didn't write these reviews. People, I'll say a review, people they fucking message me about it. And they're like, how dare you? I'm like, I didn't write that. That was, someone wrote that. And then I said, here's a review of it. I don't understand how that's my fault. Like, how is that me? You wouldn't go like see a Yelp review of a restaurant you like and then go yell at, like, it doesn't make sense. It just makes no sense. Like, someone who read it and you yell at them. Like, I didn't write it. I just read it to you.
Right.
So anyway, just a redress
rehash of that.
Yeah. 5 stars. It has a good amount of stores. Okay. There's a bus route that can take you anywhere in the city, and there's one that goes to Providence. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
There are plenty of schools with a brand new middle school. The people are from different cultures, but everyone seems to get along. We have our fair share of crime, but overall it's a pretty safe place. Okay. That didn't sound like 5 stars to me. That sounded...
This is a real 3-star wordy.
Right? It had a 3-star energy to it.
It did.
So 4 stars here. Very short. 4 stars. Pretty close to perfect. The city of Woonsocket has been dying for years, while cities that neighbor us are improving year by year. How's that 4 stars?
What the fuck is happening here?
Imagine how great it was when it had 5 stars then, if it's been dying for years.
It feels like the mayor's just been telling everybody, give us 5 stars, say whatever you want.
Yeah, you get like a free meal at the diner or something if you... All right, here we go.
The mayor's treating it like we treat our reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as there's 5 stars, I don't care if you say it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, just say 5 stars. That's great. Here's a 1 star. Not so happy.
Yeah.
This is all very... a lot of personal stuff here. 1 star, quote, I got jumped a couple days ago.
Okay.
There you go. Needed $1,000 in surgery on my mouth. Worst place I ever lived. 2nd most dangerous city in Rhode Island. We also have nearly double the pedophiles than the national average of 18.1. We have 30.2. Pedo capital. That's not the motto, by the way. City on the move. Pedo capital. Those things... also,
city on the move.
City on the move.
Kids are at the playground.
Yeah, because they're chasing kids. That's why they're on the move. It's on the move. We're on the move after these pedophiles have moved in.
If I had the energy they have, I'd bottle it.
Jesus. Okay. Also, more rape and woony than Chicago or Boston. Jesus.
What?
What's happening? Maybe per capita? I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine in total. I don't recommend anybody moving here. Too much crack, heroin, violence, burglaries, rape, and pedos. Really should just be nuked. Just go to real site. Everything here in Wooney is rated an F besides amenities. Okay. Wow, that person had it in for.
They really they hate it here.
Bad stuff. 1 year or 1 star 1 year because the first sentence is I've only lived here a little over a year. So I'm like 1 year. I've only lived here a little over a year, and so far there have been 2 shootings and 1 fatal stabbing very close to where I live. Jesus, the woman was stabbed to death only 1 street over. Whoa. The Woonsocket Police Department are so useless that the Rhode Island State Police had taken over. I do not know if the state police still have control of the city or not. There are pictures on Facebook of officers asleep in their police cars while on duty. They are worthless. From what I understand, if you are arrested on a Friday and have to remain in their jail until Monday, you barely get anything to eat, if anything at all. They are a complete waste of financial resources that could be used to clean up the area and streets. Jesus Christ.
I mean... Wow. Does that person think that cops go out like Batman? Like
I don't know what they're doing.
We have to wait for a crime and then we do the paperwork. That's the job.
Well, yeah, you can't really go out and thwart things that haven't happened yet. It's not a
cops
proactive thing.
What does this guy think happens?
It's hard. This isn't my, what is that? What the hell is that movie where they know your thoughts? What the fuck was that?
The Matrix?
No. I don't know, Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson, one of those, either a Scientologist or a Nazi, one of the 2 was in it. I don't fucking remember. Anyway, 1 star. 1 star. This is the worst city in Rhode Island that I have ever lived. The crime is horrid. The drug deals and dealers are abundant. Well, I mean, if there's all those drug deals, there's going to be a lot of dealers to make them, I would assume. That's just logic.
You got to fill the quota.
That's just logic, sir. Sorry. The area is just trashy and neglected. The majority of the residents are scum and have no desire to change for the better. Wow, that's a really pointed barb there. I wouldn't even drive through this city before I ended up living here due to extenuating circumstances. I am doing everything in my power to get out of Woonsocket. Disgusting. Last sentence is just disgusting, period. And finally, last one, 2 stars. I think the city has definitely taken a wrong turn crime-wise. I just feel like I've been noticing a lot of people getting arrested. Maybe they're getting arrested for small things, but either way, they're still getting arrested. Therefore, I definitely feel this city could improve drastically because otherwise the future generations will have the drug addicts as their role models and won't have bright futures.
Because they're arresting all the good people?
I don't know what that sounds like a 12-year-old wrote that as a part of a book report that they got cut. So population of this town peaked in population in 1950. So that tells you a lot. It's been here. Now it's population 41,508. It's down about 5% since 1990. Everything's very average, male, female population, median age. It's all the same. 37.5 is the median age. Few less married people than normal. Race of this town here, 65% white, which is pretty close to the national average. 6.4% black, which is about half the national average. 7.2% Asian, which is a little over. And 17.3% Hispanic, which is pretty on the money as far as the national average. So it's a pretty diverse town in terms of that, more than normal, honestly. We have religion here. 54.4% are religious. Jimmy, I'm going to give you one guess what the majority of the people are religion-wise here.
Catholic, Yahtzee. I win.
Catholics are the Baptists of the North. And they comprise 45% of the population here, so that's a lot. We have a Presbyterian or 2, 1.2% Jewish.
Get out of here!
Hey, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila. I don't know the words. Hey. Like how Jimmy sings he's like harmonizing with me.
Yeah.
He's Nagila. He's like Nagila.
I'm like that hype man that just throws the like
the Cypress Hill guy?
Yeah, yeah, come on.
Perfect. Last election, 60.5% of the people voted Democrat in Providence County, 37.6% voted Republican, about 2% independent. Unemployment rate here, high. It's 9.8% right now.
My God.
Which is, national average is about 6, so that's up, we'll say. Yeah. Almost twice the people here make under $15,000 a year than normal. And the median household income here, $38,340 a year, which is about $20,000 shy of the national average.
For New England, this has to be the brokest community.
It's what I mean. It is. And it's not that cheap either. It's not like it's super cheap to live here.
Yeah.
Cost of living overall is 100. Here it's 103. Or its average is 100. Here it's 103. So it's not cheap. Median home cost here, $207,800.
Wow.
So it's tough. And if we have convinced you, damn it, the only place for you to live is Woonsocket. We have for you the Woonsocket, Rhode Island Real Estate Report. Your average 2-bedroom rental here goes for about $990 a month, which is a couple hundred below the national average. About $250 below. I found a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a 1,346 square foot house here. It's a decent, clean house. They're very excited about their new roof. That's just all over the listing, everywhere. Even across the top, it's a red bar that says new roof. I'm like, holy shit. They're really into it. $219,000 for this, though. That's that's like your average size house with your average cost of it. I found a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,592 square foot house.
Fuck yeah.
A little bigger. It's okay. It needs a lot of updating. It's pretty 80s in there. It's roomy though. It's got a lot of room. There's an above ground pool in the back, so there's that. No. But that's new. And he's saying that in Arizona that doesn't exist because it would be 140 degrees if that happened. You could boil
roll that thing up and throw it in the trash.
You could make soup in it there. It would just not work there. $299,000 for that though. So
$300,000 for a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah, 2,600 square feet. Could fix that up maybe. I don't know. So here's a 12-bedroom, 6-bath. 3-family home. It's a it's an apartment on each floor.
Sure.
3,878 square foot total. So, 1,200 or 1,300 a piece about. Not the greatest, but you can rent out your mortgage payments. So there's that. $629,000 for that.
To be a landlord of 3 people. That's a great deal.
Not bad, right? That's not bad. So there's some deals, but I don't know if you want to make them because then you have to stay here. So that's a problem. Right. Things to do. I found not a lot going on here. Crack seems to be the main thing to do from what everybody says. From everything I read, there's just a lot of crack. Even in our story, there's some people that have problem. It's crack.
It's 2021, man.
It's an issue.
Stop with the crack.
It's an issue. Heroin, crack. Now here, one is Autumn Fest. This is, began in 1977, held over Columbus Day weekend. They have Food Row, lots of food, a beer tent.
Yeah,
of course. Midway rides, so I assume that's carousels and fucking Ferris wheel and shit like that. Yeah. Sporting events, Jimmy. You want to know what they have?
I do.
Dodgeball, number one. Men playing dodgeball after they've hit the beer tent, which is dangerous.
They want us to go watch this?
But I don't know. I think you're participating in it.
Okay.
Then there's Mega War, which is
that?
Quote, New England's largest tug-of-war event.
Oh, my.
So it's just a big
I thought it was going to be like war played with giant playing cards.
Nope. It's just, I got it too. Shit. Arts and crafts booths, consumer showcase, entertainment. Great entertainment at the bandstand. They don't tell you who's coming, so that's not going to be great. And then fireworks and a parade. So there's that. Then also the French Heritage Festival and Soiree. Of course. Right. There you go.
Throw out your armpits and get in here.
Let's do it. They're going to have Paws from the Pawtucket Red Sox, I assume, the mascot.
Yeah.
Bobo the Clown will be there. Oh. So there would be
James won't.
There would be clown blood on the walls if I was there. That won't happen. There we go. And then Our Lady of Queen Martyrs Hall. That's the location. $10. And it says you get dynamites and beverage. I assume that's some sort of French snack or something that makes you shit. I don't know what that is. Dynamites.
Dynamites?
I don't want to eat anything that's called dynamite because I feel like that's going to come out wrong. Either way. Crime rate. Crime, we're interested in here. The meat of this whole deal.
Fuck yeah.
Property crime is actually it's high crime, but the actual crime rate is not that bad. I don't know if that's just because the last year because everybody's been inside. Right. So, but it's still compared to the national average, so I would assume then it would still be higher because it would all be equal. But property crime is just slightly above average, just slightly above. And then violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and assault, the Mount Rushmore of crime, obviously, is just about at average, just slightly like a 2% high or something. So it's not, statistically not that bad.
It's not unreasonable.
No, it's really not. So we have to, let's talk about a murder. Let's do that. Let's get into this. It's a deep one. So I want to give it its due and give it its time. That's why we cut the town a little short here. First of all, I have to give credit to RhodeIslandMonthly.com. These two people who wrote an article, John Larrabee and Russ Olivo, wrote an article that was pretty good. It encompassed a lot of good information, and there's a couple things in there that people didn't have as far as interviews go. And there's a book too that I'll mention at the end that was written on this subject that really good information came out of. That's where the article got most of their info, but then they did some backup or follow-up reporting that was pretty damn impressive. So good shit there. Now let's go back to July of 2004. Okay. Let's start there. Yeah. In July of 2004, parts, and I say parts, of a human body are found in a landfill in Johnston, Rhode Island.
Yikes.
Somebody sees something. There's a torn bag, and somebody sees a limb or something. And
do we know how that was found? Is it just like workers there? Or?
Yeah, somebody just came across it. I mean, that's who knows if somebody
looking for one of those people that loves refurbishing furniture and shit.
They're looking for like a hubcap for a '72 Dodge Dart, and they come across. They get like half a torso instead. That's a
whoops-a-daisy.
Whoops, didn't want to find that.
That'll teach you to be cheap.
That's shit. You know what?
Get on eBay with the rest of us.
Just gonna say, from now I got to get a PayPal account, but still, I think I can do it. I got to get on eBay. I'm only 25 years behind on it, so. We'll get on there.
If you hate eBay, finding a body while trash picking, that'll get you right the fuck on there.
You know what? Yeah, sometimes shipping is excessive, but guess what? I've never, ever had anything shipped from eBay, had it arrive, open it up, and there was an arm in there. That never happened once. Never a human foot in my package. It could happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, boy, I ordered that, starting lineup figure from 1989, and oh, boy, there's a foot in it. I thought this box seemed heavy. Never happened. So, anyway, the parts that they find, they end up identifying, finally, after a little while, and the woman it's a woman that we find out. It's a 24-year-old woman named Stacy Goulet.
Shit.
Goulet. Stacy Goulet. French heritage. There you go. Look at that.
Betcha.
Woonsocket.
Nailed it.
Yeah. She's clearly been dismembered, and not all of her body parts are in
we don't
the bag
have all
that
of
they
it.
find. No, we have parts of her.
Yeah.
We find out she's a mother of two. Which is awful. A 7-year-old boy named Dana, a 3-year-old girl named Kimberly. Shit. So, I mean, yeah. Oh, by the way, she's also pregnant.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So.
Almost a mother of 3.
Not great.
Horrible.
It's very, very, it's awful, man. It's awful.
Where are the kids?
The kids are not with her. They weren't with her at the time that she disappeared. Okay. So the kids are fine. She was just missing, which is good. Yeah, that's great. But the fact that, she was pregnant and also she's a 24-year-old person, that sucks. That
that's horrible.
Been dismembered. Her family finds out, her father says, "You don't figure your kids will go before you. They're not supposed to. I feel like my heart has been stolen away." So, that's not good. Obviously awful. Every parent would hate that, especially right. 24 is young. It's not like you're 85 and she's 53 and she got cancer or something. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't have to bury my kid. She's 24. That's a long life. Yeah. Well, yeah, quite. She's had a rough life though. Especially lately, she's had a rough life. She's been trying to get her life together, but she is addicted to drugs of all sorts of different variety, and she's been walking the streets, if you know what I mean. So to get money for drugs.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Her dad has been like, there's one point her dad finds her on the street and talks to her and tells her, you got to clean your life up and all that. And she's like, no, I'm not, I'm not turning tricks anymore. I'm not doing that. I'm just, trying to get by. And, she was lying, of course, but it's very sad, that this happened. Yeah, she got in a bad spot in life here, and that was where she turned. And the problem is, too, she had been missing for a little while, and now they find her. Now they're very worried about 2 other local women that are missing because they're afraid that they may have met the same fate.
No.
Obviously, here.
Are they her co-workers?
They are, yes, they are definitely. They go to the same HR meetings, these 2 here. One is Audrey Lynn Harris. She's 33 years old. Tiny, tiny little woman, Audrey Lynn Harris. She's 5'1", 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So very, very tiny lady. She was last seen February 9th, 2003, walking on Arnold Street in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. She spoke to her mother on the telephone that day, and she said that she was going to come visit, but then she never showed up to go there. She never was heard from again after that by her family at all. She just disappeared. She said that everyone said that even though she was on, kind of on the street a little bit, she didn't have like a set address, and obviously her habits and things would take her to different places. Yeah. She was very uncharacteristic of her to not check in with her family and to just disappear without warning. That
was in February of the year before?
That was in February of the year before, almost a year and a half.
Minute, yeah.
It's been a minute. This is a lot early. So, yeah. And the woman they found has not been dead for a year and a half either. And she disappeared earlier in that year. It's there's a spread here of a year and change of the disappearance. They don't know if they're connected or what, but the fact that 3 women disappear in less than 2 years that are all from the same area and all disappeared from the same area, makes it kind of
cause for pause.
Exactly. So she had 3 children as well, Audrey Lynn Harris, obviously. Now, April 3rd, 2003 is when a detective, Paul Savini, was assigned to investigate this case, her missing case of Audrey Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah. That her mother, Claudette, had filled out a missing person report saying she last spoke to her on February 9th, and she never came by, even though she said she was gonna stop by. Claudette told the police that even though, she said that the only thing she could tell her, she's a drug user. She doesn't have a permanent address, but it wasn't like her to not call home occasionally just to say she was okay, because she knew her family worried about her, and she had a fondness for teddy bears.
Oh,
they said if you find that she would have a teddy bear with her. Probably she likes teddy bears and has teddy bears around her. I don't know if she had like a teddy bear.
Claw machine participant.
One of those, or like those teddy bear backpack purses things in the early 2000s. I don't know if she had one of those. You know what I mean?
A couple of keychains. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Just some general teddy bear riff, stuff around you.
Big business, those teddy bears. If they weren't, Care Bears wouldn't exist.
No shit. Yeah, people love teddy bears. I guess because
they're fucking rad.
I guess because they're just like little babies with like bear ears. They have the same proportions as a baby with an oversized head and like a round stomach, short, stumpy,
squeezable
things. Is that it? It's like
perhaps you can squeeze the shit out of them and not hurt the baby.
Is it a baby you can choke and not it'd still be okay? I don't know. Not that. Why would anyone want to choke a baby? I'm not sure. But if you have the desire to do that,
I think I may be onto something. But I think the origin of them was about Teddy Roosevelt.
The name, they named it after him. But I wonder if they gave the first one to Teddy, and he's like, I like it. The reason being, it looks like a baby, and when you choke it, you get the feeling of choking a real child, but without the messy aftermath of that, obviously, when you choke a child.
About the same size neck as a toddler. I dig this.
I like it. Use my name.
But I don't know why they chose bears. I really don't. Or why they're the shape they're. Because bears don't look like that. Here's the thing.
They don't. No. And also they picked a vicious animal, too. Like,
fuck yeah, they do.
Like a bear. Bears are awesome because they're huge and they're fast and they're amazing. But they're like killing machines. I mean, Good God. Like, that's something like, here, snuggle up with this.
A very effective meat garbage disposal is what it is.
Yeah.
Very effective.
You'd think it would just be like dogs that they would have. But I guess you have a real dog, so what do you need a stuffed dog for, I suppose, for kids? I don't know what the hell's going on.
Have you ever seen a bear in the wild and thought for a second, I'd love to snuggle that?
Yeah. You chase it down, you tackle it, and you try to hug it. That's what I do usually.
It'd be great if you were declawed. I'd just snuggle the fuck out of you.
Yeah, I'm sure those big teeth won't bother you at all either. This thing's gnawing on your head, just on Jimmy's skull, and it's like, I thought it was declawed. I thought it was safe. Ouch.
Those things are horrible animals. They're
cool as shit, though.
Yeah. They're incredible, and they're great for the ecosystem, but I don't want to be anywhere near one.
They're like horses where you look at it and you're like, how is that a thing? Like, how is that? You see like a grizzly bear, you're like, holy shit, how does that exist in nature? Like, it's like looking at a horse. You're like, oh my God, look at that thing. How does that exist? Is that real?
There was a person at some point, James, that saw a horse and was like, I'm going to get on that.
Yeah, I bet if I ride that. But look how fast it's running. No, I'll catch it and I'll break its spirit and then I'll ride it. That's how fucking crazy people are.
I'm going to beat the living shit out of that 2,000-pound animal.
They saw a 1,500-pound fucking majestic, fast, muscular thing that clearly is in better shape than them, and they're like, I'll ride it. You know, like, and its whole family, really. And then I'll make more horses to ride.
I'll ride it from New York all the way the fuck to Oregon. Watch me.
That's some arrogant shit that we have.
It really is.
See that thing? No, I'll ride it. See how beautiful it is? No, I don't want to watch it. I want to ride it.
I'm going to use that instead of my legs. That's what I'm going to do.
I'd like to harness this to the point where they'll use any measurement of power in the future will be based on this animal pulling things, because that's what I'm going to make it do. Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely, these people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked, God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News & World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. Yeah. But why don't you focus also, you look at like green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well. Right. And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you all sorts of good stuff about Chime. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many extra fees you have to pay in life. Everything. You go to the airline, there's an extra ticket on that. There's extra fee on your, every fees and fees, hotels, fees, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make progress, and the next thing you know, here comes another fee coming at you, and it's more money than you expected, and your whole math is thrown off, and it's awful. Learn more at chime.com/smalltownmurder. Chime is great with that stuff. I mean, you can't beat if your things are a little tight, especially around the holidays or after the holidays. You need that money a couple days early, or you go grocery shopping. You got a car payment due. There's so many things that don't cross over exactly how you want them to cross over. Make progress toward a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/smalltownmurder. That's chime.com/smalltownmurder. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit cards provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs.
And now back to the show.
That's crazy. So, Claudette, Audrey's mom, said that she had gone to talk to people at some of the local bars. This is what she tells police, that she did a little, investigation. Yeah. Because she didn't want to go to the police, and then it turns out she was just hanging out with somebody and, holed up with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she talked to some of the people at the bars that Audrey hung out at, but nobody had seen her in a while. So that's not normal for her. She's got a kind of a stomping ground that she hangs out on. So, she's missing. And finally, by November 2004, because this is from, April 2003, by November 2004, her mother just holds a memorial service for her, assuming that she's probably not with us anymore, obviously.
You don't do that unless you've done enough reconnaissance. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you've done a little recon on the situation here. Now, the detective looking into her case of her missing person found that she hadn't reported to her parole officer since she had been released from prison in 2003. She's released from prison in January 25th, 2003. So she was barely out of prison. Right. And she disappears, and she never reported to her parole officer. So right away, he's thinking maybe she's just jumping parole. But still, it's a weird thing to do in this situation. Sure. That doesn't make sense. She'd been on probation for assault and battery, as well as for resisting arrest at that point. So the detective contacted some of the Vice Squad cops, but they told him that they hadn't seen her around either. Wow. And they see all the ladies on the street.
Those are the guys. Yeah, they're following this beat out.
Yeah, they know all these ladies. So he checks with all these other police departments just to find out if maybe somebody has her in custody on the off chance she, drove somewhere with someone, had some drugs on her, got picked up. Yeah. Who knows? So he also just would go hang out down on the corner, fucking watch the corners, waiting for her because they know he'd watch the drug spots because he knows she's going to cop at some point, probably, if she's around. And nobody there. And then he'd find all the other, women that are out, and they would all say that she hasn't been in the area recently. It's crazy. So one of the women said she last saw Audrey at the end of January, right after she got out of jail. Right. She said she let Audrey take a shower at her house and gave her some clothes to wear. And she told the police that Audrey was seeing a corrections officer named Kerry from the Adult Correction Institution who had given her a new winter jacket and some money.
Okay.
So she's saying she's seeing some prison guard guy or something.
Is that a gal or a girl, Kerry? We don't know.
We don't know. That's the other, Kerry. I don't know. It's not even Keri. Like it could be anything. Yeah, we have no idea.
Super confusing.
Yeah, they don't know. So police track it down. It is a man, and that's who she's been with. Police track him down, and he doesn't work for the prison, but he had been a substance abuse counselor for the state, and that's how he met her.
Got it.
So shouldn't have been really fucking around with her anyway, but still.
Borderline unethical, is that the word?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's in the handbook to then, help people, counsel them, and then when they're all better, take them out on a date. Take them out for a night on the town when they're all better. See if she wants to go out dancing, and see if you can get a piece. You know what I mean? I don't think that's how it was. So his name was Kerry Garner, and he retired in March of 2002, but he had been, so he's an older guy. He'd been the chief of treatment services for the substance abuse division of the Rhode Island Department of Mental Health. Mm-hmm. That's a fucking handle and a half. Does that fit on a card? Holy shit. It's long.
That's busy.
That's busy. Yeah, I got a lot of titles. There's a lot of words in what I... My title has a lot of words. I got to go. Click, and you hang up on people.
How much time you got?
You got a while. How much time you got? let me ask you. This could take a minute. So, he worked there for 28 years, and he'd known Audrey for 10 years. So, known her for a while. She is 33, so this has been going on a while with her. He said that he got to know her a little better when she went to him for a referral for substance abuse treatment sometime around 2000. He said he referred her to the Talbot House in Providence, Rhode Island, for treatment. He said he last saw her on January 25th, 2003, when he picked her up in front of the public defender's office in Providence. I guess that's when she got out of jail. He called her because she needed a ride home, and he said he dropped her off at the top of West Park Place in Woonsocket and went on his way. So, I mean, that's if that's true, and he hadn't seen her since, she'd been seen since then. So,
I mean, it's hard. That's a sticky spot because at some point you're like, you have to cut the ties and let her go her way. At some point, you got to stop being a helpful friend or I don't know, a tool, an instrument to keep her safe. And not fucking be personal.
Well, you can't do that with everybody. Yeah, you can't have a personal relationship with everybody you talk to, and and this is a point now where the police, when they talk to a guy like this, they have to go, okay, is he truly a good Samaritan? Yeah. Is he just a nice guy who gave her a couple bucks and a winter coat and gave her a ride, or is he, a predator? Is he does he help these people so he can abuse them? So that's what they're wondering at that point. So. He said a few days later, Audrey called him to ask him for a ride to the Adult Correctional Institution in Cranston so she could pick up some money she left in an account during her last incarceration. She's got some money on the books still in jail. Right. She also wanted to pick up some clothes she left in his truck. I don't know why she'd leave clothes in his truck. I don't know if she was going somewhere where she couldn't carry them or what, but the Garner guy said he could tell Audrey was high and he didn't want to get involved with her problems at that point. He's like, I'm not going to be your fucking ride everywhere and all that. I could tell you're high. So he told her he'd leave her clothes inside the door in the downstairs hallway of his house. He's like, so that's all I did. So he said that she showed up to collect her stuff. She rang the bell, but he didn't want to see her, so he didn't answer the door. He could hear her talking out loud and cursing as she picked up her stuff and left. And that was the last he heard from her.
Yeah.
She's like, motherfucker, asshole, piece of shit.
Leave my sundress by the door, and I'm just supposed to pick my shit up in this trash bag. This is bullshit. How dare you?
Shit out here in goddamn TJ Maxx bags and shit like I'm fucking... So Garner said he had no idea where she was, but he did know some of the people she hung out with and some of the places she stayed at. So, he said that she used to stay with some guy named Pete on Park Avenue and another guy named Dave who lived on Fifth Avenue. Fifth and Park, both very fancy for
posh,
dumpy streets in Woonsocket. Those are different. Moonhocket. In Moonhocket, Rhode Island. That's where we're staying now, Jimmy. So, he also said that sometimes Audrey used to stay at his house when she had no other place to go. The more they talk to him, the more they're like, he's more involved. I just gave her a ride. Then it's like, well, I gave her a ride. Then I left her clothes outside, but she only went to the inside of the door. Then it's like, well, she used to stay here sometimes. Kind of goes on and on. She'd stay a couple nights, then take a day, then take off. That's the way it was. She'd probably come in, clean up for a couple days, and then go back out when she wanted to. Hit the track again and get drugs, I would assume. So she said that happened a few times. And he also said while Audrey stayed at his house, she also had sex with him.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. But apparently he made her sleep on his living room floor in his sleeping bag. Oh. He'd fuck her, but he wouldn't sleep in the same bed with her.
What kind of...
Because she's a dirty street person, so I can't possibly let her sleep in my bed. But you know what? Take those underwear off and let's get rocking.
You ungrateful fuck.
I don't get anything any place you would put your dick. You should be fine with that, like touching your pillow or your sheets. You put your dick inside of that. The outside should be fine. Like, what are you doing? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Clean enough to leave your cock in it. It's fine for your bed.
Not to mention, I don't know, just some common niceness. If you're goodly enough to do that. I think, at least you should have you should give her the good pillow, as a matter of fact. She's, come on, dude. You're a retired treatment counselor or whatever the fuck you are. You getting laid that often by someone 20 years younger than you? You should be thrilled by this.
Give her a knee pillow, too. One that, you know what I mean?
Something.
Don't let her legs stick together.
You stay in the wet spot.
Be a
Come
gentleman.
on. You lay in that. Give her the good side. So.
Perhaps the bed's just too small and he sprawls out. In that instance, then you sleep on the couch, motherfucker.
Yeah, there you go.
Give her some comfort.
Man, he also refused to let police search his apartment for any of her belongings as well. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't do it. He said, get a warrant if you want to come in. Yeah. They checked and determined that Audrey did withdraw $42.30 from her inmate account at the institution on January 30th, which is what he said. She wanted to ride there. Audrey's friend Dave Parker, the Pittsburgh Pirate great, not him, but Dave Parker. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was Dave Parker?
It'd be amazing. I'd love that.
I love Dave Parker. The Cobra is his nickname. Yeah. First of all, one of the great nicknames of all time, and just a cool guy.
We also had Dave Stewart, who was awesome, too.
Great. Dave Parker, though, in the late 70s during the World Series, there's this great shot of him just in the dugout, foot up on the step of the dugout, just smoking a cigarette, just during a game. I'm
just
like,
loving life.
I love Dave Parker so much. I don't care. I'm going to get up and hit a home run when I finish this Winston. When I finish my Cool, I'll be there. Hold on a minute.
On deck, Schmon deck. I'm almost done with this.
I'm almost done. Hold on a minute. I just got done with the joint. I like to smoke a cigarette when I'm done. What are we talking about here? So, Dave Parker said he knew Audrey for about 10 years as well, and they initially had a sexual relationship, but then they ended up just being friends. You know how it works out.
Mature adults.
Yeah, it's just a Jerry and Elaine type of thing. It's not a big deal. So,
move along.
Yeah. In September 2002, he said he had to take out a restraining order on Audrey because she was so high on drugs she became very violent with him and started attacking him. Okay. So he said just before he applied for it, he said that he and Audrey were in his car and she started assaulting him while he was driving, which is never a good idea. Never beat the driver.
You never hit the driver. Never.
What's the goal there? To knock him out and crash into a tree? What do you? Right. What's the end game that you're trying to accomplish here?
If you're clearly not threatening enough to be serious to cause bodily injury, then why are you hitting?
No shit.
Why are you doing this?
What is happening?
Is this a warning shot? What is happening?
I will hit you so hard you'll kill us both. Let's do it. I don't care. It's a weird thing to do.
Right.
So when asked what he thought happened to Audrey, Parker said, quote, "I guess she got in with the wrong person and someone killed her." That was his response.
Dave.
Which is an odd, you should say, no clue. I don't know.
Right.
I didn't do it, so how would I know?
Perhaps she met a man who owns a rocket ship and they're on Mars.
And right now they live on Neptune.
Why are you being so... Why do you have so many hypotheses, Dave?
It's so weird. They interviewed also Tim Harris, who's Audrey's brother, and Tim said he last saw her also at the end of January. He said he and a friend were driving down Park Avenue when he saw Audrey in a gray pickup truck near Dunkin' Donuts. He stopped when Audrey saw him, and she got out of the truck and got into his car. Tim's friend left, and Tim and Audrey went to a party at a nearby house. They smoked some crack together and then talked. Yeah. So, some sibling crack. You want to share crack with your sibling.
Did Tim say she's probably dead, too?
Yeah, I would assume somebody killed her. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Haven't seen her since we smoked that crack. She's probably dead.
What do you think? Now, Tim said Audrey called their mom and told her that she was going into rehab at that point. And Tim asked Audrey if she wanted to go to McDonald's to get something to eat. She said no, so Tim left her there, and when he came back, she was gone. And that's the last time he saw her. So, they talked to Dave Parker again. They talked to a bunch of other people, another one of her boyfriends named Pete Gagne, and he was the one, he points them in the direction back to Kelly Garner, the rehab guy, so they go back to there. He figured Garner was lying about when the last time he saw her was because he was trying to save his job because he had a job at some other place being a counselor now. But, it's one of those. He was her counselor and all that kind of shit, so... In the end, though, none of them panned out, and they didn't find any proof of anybody actually being in contact with her at a later date or being around her or killing her or abducting her or anything like that. Then the third woman is 42-year-old Christine Dumont.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the things that's strange, they're all on the street. They're all into drugs. They're all into prostitution and everything like that. Christine, not into like it's a hobby, but you know, like, yeah, she likes fly fishing and selling her body. Like those are the two things she's into. So other than that, they don't fit a type. They're all very different.
Really?
Stacy's 24 and she's white. Audrey is 33 and she's black.
Yeah. And
Christine is 42 and white. So they're all 10 years apart in age and different races and different looks. So it's not like that's a factor, but they all
race
have the
part's
same.
a big deal because that's not usually. I mean,
that's not unimportant.
Right.
It might not be important, but it may
there
be
you go.
A lot of times. So now Christine Dumont, 42 years old. She was last seen getting out of a car on Arnold Street. Sound familiar? In Woonsocket.
Sounds like the joint. Yeah.
That's the place to go if you want to get abducted, it sounds like.
Yeah.
This was April 23rd, 2004, and she was never heard from again at that point.
Yikes.
She, same thing, walking down Arnold Street when she disappeared, and Christine also has a long history of, she's the exact same problems as everybody else. Drugs, prostitution, the whole deal. It didn't take long here. Her sister knew something was wrong pretty quickly because she would check in with her all the time. Her name is Madeline DeRochers, her sister, and she said that Christine hadn't picked up her disability check at the post office. So when someone who is on drugs doesn't pick up a check, you know that there's an issue.
Yeah.
They would be there.
Yeah, she doesn't want to go. She's not into she's not into prostitution. Mm-mm. She would much rather have a check that she doesn't have to do this shit today.
That's what I mean. But it was the drugs that were the problem. That's what her sister said. Is the drugs made her? She would go need more and more money.
Right.
Obviously, because if you're smoking crack, that habit adds up.
Yeah.
You don't just be like, I'm going to set aside $10 a day for it, and then that'll be nice. Like, it builds.
Yes.
You just keep doing it. So
you don't need them like you need crack a little bit more than you need cigarettes. Like
it's a lot.
Cigarettes, I'll smoke a pack today. That's $7.
You'll be grumpy. Yeah. That's all. You'll be grumpy, but you won't be like, rah,
and
kill
throwing
people.
up and fucking actually sick.
All sorts of problems.
Yeah.
And jittery.
Yeah.
So another thing, also, she hadn't called her 2 sons in a couple of days. She's another one. She's got 2 kids. So far, we're up to 7 kids of missing women at this point. So she hadn't called her 2 sons in a couple of days, and she always checked in with her sons. She said, despite everything, she always loved her kids, and she called them every single night, no matter what, to say goodnight and to check in with them. So her sister said she found out that the kids hadn't heard from her in 2 days, so she called another relative who'd been, taking care of one of the 2 kids, and to ask if she'd called there, and she hadn't called there either. So, and she's had a tough life, Christine. We found out she's had a very, very tough life. Her father worked in a dye house to support 8 kids.
Oh my!
So that's coming up hard. You know what I mean? They didn't have a lot of money, that sort of shit, but it wasn't the worst thing. Christine was the youngest for a long time, and then they had another one under her. They said she was spoiled. She always wanted her own way. Going to school, she was always well dressed. Her socks matched her clothes, and her fingernails matched her outfits. She was a very particular girl. And then when she was a teenager, though, she kind of got wild and that sort of shit. And it wasn't easy for her, especially because she was hit by the left front shield of a 52 car train, which was traveling between 20 and 25 miles an hour. The shield is like a big brush guard up front.
Right.
She got hit by that, and it's used to push aside objects, obviously, shit that's on there. She ends up being dragged beneath the wheels of the train.
Oh, my God.
And then hurled 40 feet into the air, and she landed in a gutter at the crossing.
This is before she went missing.
This is when she was a kid. When she's a teenager, this happened.
My.
The train finally came to a stop. As a result, all of the skin on the right side of her face, as well as her arms and legs, was completely ripped off.
Holy shit.
She was in a coma. Or she was already in a coma when the rescue squad got there to get her.
Oh, boy.
Wow. She's brought in. They tried to take x-rays of her to see how much, but the blood was so thick they couldn't even see things in there because everything was so thick. She was in a coma for 3 months. 3 months. And it took months for her to start speaking again. And after all that kind of shit, she never went back to school, even though she was in her teens. She didn't go back to school. She was uncomfortable. And then when she was 18, she met a guy named Joe who was 31, which is just what you want. And they moved in together and all of that sort of shit. And she was doing well, though. She was clean and she was not on drugs and everything was fine. And then things started to fall apart. And then
Joe fucked her up.
Yeah, just that marriage didn't work out and things got worse. And then she started getting into drugs. And as her sister Madeline said, quote, "My sister was a rip-off artist and I didn't appreciate it. She would take any money. She would take money from people, tell them she was going to buy them drugs, and then take off with the money. I had a front door and a back door, and she would rip off somebody outside, then run in the front door and run out the back door. She did it to so many people."
And then she's got somebody that's pissed off at her sister standing in her living room.
Exactly. So then she's got to explain that. Either she's got to pay them off or she's got to fucking, close the door and lock it and hope they don't break it down.
Right.
So she's saying basically that there's any number of people that might be angry at her, that are people that you don't know what they're going to do. Usually people that you've ripped off for drug money aren't the most reasonable people usually. No. So she said that, prostitution was never really her, main thing. She liked ripping people off better because she thought it was easier. Right. And I'm sure it is. I mean, I wouldn't want to. That's, whatever. She said she did sell herself occasionally to get money for drugs, though. That's when she needed extra cash. So she was once arrested for solicitation, but was never actually, they'd ended up dropping the charges before anything happened. So
okay.
I don't know if it was a first offense or what. Then at one point, she meets a guy while she is on the street, meets a guy who throws her into a trunk and beats the living shit out of her. She eventually gets a hold of a tire iron in the trunk, and when he opens the trunk, she starts hitting him with the tire iron in the stomach.
Hell yeah.
But didn't do enough damage to ward off the even more big of a beating she got after that from this poor woman. So they ended up going to a bank, the police do, and because they heard about that, and they viewed tape of a ATM transaction from the morning she was assaulted. They observed a man who fit this description, and the woman and Christine Dumont were all there. They all had been they saw them using the ATM about 12:55 a.m. Police learned the ATM card. They went all the way back, did all of this research, and found Timothy Scanlon of Woonsocket was the guy who this ATM card was linked to. So that's the guy that she thinks kidnapped her and put her in the trunk. So they enter his name into the database, and they discover that he'd been arrested a month earlier. So he's got a mugshot. So they check his booking photo against the photo taken at the ATM, and they go, oh, boy, let's check this guy out. So they went to talk to his mother, who said that he did own a Mercury Marquis, which is what that she owned a Mercury Marquis, but that Tim sometimes drove it. So that's the car that she said he was driving. So the police search her apartment, but they don't find anything that belongs to him there. So they just keep going. They also learn that he had sold a 1988 GMC Jimmie on April 11, 2003, and they discovered that it was crushed in a pile of crushed vehicles in an auto parts junkyard. So they pulled out this pancake of a car so they could search for DNA evidence and fibers, which is crazy. They brought it to the station to inspect it. They also had the Marquis towed to the garage, and they checked that out. When they inspect the Mercury, they notice some damage to the rear quarter of the driver's side. Then they find the top of the lid of the trunk. They find damage. There was also some damage to the lid of the trunk, and then the detective opened the trunk to check inside, and he said he was able to detect fresh scratch marks and dents to the inside of the driver's wheel well. Scratch marks from the inside, which means people have been in there, or raccoons. One of the two. I don't know.
Depends on what you're picking up on the road. Yeah,
maybe it's a bear. Like we were saying, they're tough. So
it was declawed.
It was it was a declawed bear. Couldn't get through. He also noticed damage to the gray carpeting inside the trunk, and when he examined the black rubber gasket around the opening of the trunk, he saw a reddish stain that looked like blood near the marks on the lid of the trunk. So he noticed red stains that looked like blood on the driver's side floor that was in the trunk, and they collected all of that. Scanlon was arrested for kidnapping and assaulting Christine and the other woman that he had with her, and they indict him and everything like that. They deliberate 8 hours. They convict him of 3 counts of first-degree sexual assault, 1 count of first-degree robbery, 1 count of assault with a dangerous weapon, and 1 count of felony assault. Mm-hmm. Now, they're thinking... The problem is he'd also been charged separately with the assaulting and kidnapping of Christine, but they were forced to drop the charges against him because she disappeared before she had a chance to testify against him. Okay. Uh-huh. So, as you might imagine, he is prime suspect numero fucking uno here.
Absolutely.
Had a lot of reason here. They end up sentencing him to 50 years in prison for the woman he attacked before Christine, and they also sentenced him to 20 years probation to be served afterwards as well. But they realized that he hadn't been involved with the disappearance or her death, even though he had threatened to kill her while he was in prison. So they're like, it's not him, so what the fuck, basically.
But he is a bad fucking guy.
He's a terrible, terrible man. He just happened to not have killed Christine or Audrey or Stacy at that point.
Right.
So a little more about Stacy. Stacy went missing from the same area. It was a different street, but in the same area, same track there, as Audrey and Christine does. Sometime between July 3rd, late night July 3rd, early morning of the 4th of July, 2004. On July 7th, her boyfriend went to the Woonsocket police station and spoke with police officers about her disappearance. And he said he reported her missing 3 days earlier, actually. He said that she'd done some crack with a friend that night on July 3rd. She smoked some crack and on Park Avenue and had planned to watch the fireworks at the World War II Memorial State Park in Woonsocket, which is where that festival is, by the way. The one for the Autumn Fest is there.
Is it the World War II
Memorial State Park? That's where that is. Yeah. So she went to watch the fireworks at about 9. Instead, at about 9:30, they left the friend's apartment to go to East School Street so she could, she put it, she wanted to go turn a trick so she could get more crack.
Yeah.
She was just going to go do that quick rather than watch fireworks. You know what's better than fireworks? Crack. So around 10:30, they ran into Stacy's dad, who was driving a pickup truck, and he asked her how she was doing. This is what I was telling you there. She told him that she, stopped turning tricks, and she wasn't doing that. And so he gave her like dad shit. Like he was giving her clean up, take care of your kids, stay out of trouble. They ended up hugging and parting ways and all that sort of shit. So it wasn't like a real contentious conversation.
It's just a supportive dad.
He was being a supportive dad, trying not to scare her away, but also saying, please, because as a father, you still have to say, please don't smoke crack and turn tricks. I beg you. Even if you're not trying to, you're just not trying to scare them, you have to say that.
Those are words, yeah.
Please don't do that.
Those phrases are imperative to this conversation.
They really are. So he drove off and never saw her again. Mm-hmm. So apparently her and her boyfriend then walked up East School Street, and Stacy told her boyfriend she wanted to work that night and began looking for John's in a park. Oh, Lord. So as Stacy kept walking, the boyfriend stopped a guy he knew on the street to ask for a cigarette, but he didn't have one. Then he turned around and Stacy was gone. He said he couldn't find her anymore. He walked all around the street, but he didn't see her. He kept walking. He sat down for a while, and then he decided to go to the police station because he said that she was never gone for more than an hour when she was turning a trick, and now she was gone for a couple hours. He figured she probably got arrested. Mm-hmm. He's like, she probably got arrested. I better go to the police station.
Look for her. Right.
I'll go look for her there. But they said that she wasn't there. Don't know what you're talking about. So he said he went back to his friend's house and went to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning. So
minus your girlfriend?
Yeah, he's like, I just went to bed, I guess. So
eventually you get tired, I guess.
Yeah. So the police aren't real thrilled about that story either.
No.
They're kind of like, that sounds sketchy. He told police that she'd been missing one other time for about 24 hours. At that time she was with a guy named Gary who had a room at the Country Squire Motel, which I'm sure is
it's classy.
I hear the lamb chops from room service are divine there, just divine.
At the Country Squire?
The Country Squire Motel, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Their wine list, shocking. It's so
James, good. The cheese, the charcuterie and cheese is incredible. Yeah,
I got to try that next time.
The olives they bring, always in season, incredible.
That's amazing. So yeah, I had so many things on that menu I had to try.
Sometimes they come with the little figs. Amazing. The sweet and the salty of the cheese. It's a real nice combination.
Yeah, we got the tuna niçoise as a appetizer, so we didn't hit that up.
Little tartar, James.
You know how it is. At the old Country Squire Motel in North Smithfield. You know how it is there. It's all class.
Squire implies hookery is happening here. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think it implies squiring. Squiring a penis where, somebody doesn't want it for money. That's what that is.
Unless there's money involved, right?
Oh, God. So, turned out Gary kept Stacy in the room against her will at that time and had forced himself on her. So he's another candidate there. That's what you do at the Country Squire Motel.
I mean, if you're not, then you're not fitting in.
This is our captive assault room here. It's a very special room at the end of the hall.
Are you trying to blend or not, James?
Jesus. The boyfriend told police that Stacy had complained to him in the past about other customers who wouldn't let her leave, including a married guy who drove a blue Oldsmobile, and a couple other people, too. So these are all people that creeped her out because they said, anybody ever creep her out, basically?
Hooking and prostitution is very similar to kink shaming in that the moment that we try to make it like a horrible thing is the moment that it becomes super dangerous.
Yeah.
And it being illegal makes it so much more dangerous. And
God.
If we want to pretend that we give a shit about women, we need to make this shit legal. This is crazy, the danger that they're in.
Oh,
this
you
is
hear,
unbelievable.
The lifestyle is insane. It's fucking insane. And the problem is, though, legally, a lot of these women, because the women are doing it under legal circumstances. A lot of times they're not they don't live on the street and they don't smoke crack and they don't have things like that. They're doing this they have a business plan. I'm going to I'm going to do this for this many years and then I have this business that I'm opening. Whereas this is a day-to-day existence. This is just...
Oh, it's horrifying.
You can't classify this as they chose a career path. It's just it's literally
these aren't CEOs of their own business.
No.
This is they're managing their addiction through this, and that's fucking horrific.
This is I'm okay today, but now I don't have any money, and this is the only way I can get money quickly.
Right,
cash.
Because I can't pass a drug test to get a job.
Exactly, because it's a problem. It sucks, man. It really sucks. Drugs are the issue here. The addiction of it. So she had an interesting background too. Her parents were divorced. Ray, the guy her father who tracked her down and told her not to turn tricks anymore.
Sure.
He actually took off and wasn't around, and her mom married another guy named Norman Goulet who adopted her. So she always wanted to live with her real father, though. She had that, things will be better with my dad. Kids have if one parent goes away, they have a fantasy about them that life would be perfect with that person. Meanwhile, they run away because they're not perfect. That's the point. So
from it.
Yeah. So eventually Debbie divorced this guy and she remarried Ray. She remarried her original Stacy's dad, but Stacy kept the last name of, I don't know if they didn't fill out the paperwork or what, but they divorced. They were still married when Stacy disappeared or when her remains were found, but then they get divorced almost immediately after that because that trauma is difficult.
Yeah,
so, Stacy ended up meeting a man, and they went out for a couple weeks when she was young, when she was 18. And the first time they had sex, she got pregnant. So,
wow.
That's rough, man. Yeah.
Oh, my. I realize that's an obvious opportunity, and it certainly happens.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
That's rough. That's rough going. You think it'd be great if nature could give you a freebie or two. You know what I mean? Just to get your fucking legs under you.
Yeah, your eggs should have to get used to the dose that you're getting.
Something, right? Yeah. Get your eggs under you then, not your legs under you.
Yeah, the first dose, your eggs should be immune.
Yeah, I got to feel my sea eggs, It takes a couple of times. So
shouldn't be able to take the first batch and it takes. That's horrible.
She was only 17 when her son Dana was born.
Oh, God.
So then a couple of years later, they had another. They had Kimberly, the daughter.
When he was born.
Yeah, when he was born, she was 17. So probably pregnant when she was 16. So during the investigation of Stacy's disappearance, a police officer called her boyfriend and asked him to come down for questioning. And he told him that he was the number one suspect in the disappearance. But he said, I don't understand. I don't know what you're talking about. He said, I'm not even close to her. This is her ex-husband. He said, we don't really like each other and we don't go near each other. He says, if we see each other, she chucks the bird at me and I'll say something stupid to her. Other than that, we don't see each other. So that's like even your ex-wife and you have a better relationship than that.
Slightly.
You walk in, she gives you the finger, you call her a twat, and then you walk away. That's not what happens. You try to be civil, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, if I read my text messages to you, you'd probably think, no, this is probably exactly the same.
You're verbal typing the finger at you?
More or less, yeah. It's like something stupid, and then I go, text me about the kids, and then it devolves into awful.
Yes.
That's essentially how it goes.
It's not in front of the kids.
It's not healthy. That's what it is.
So Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmy had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. So we're trying to get healthier, and I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. You know, the most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch up here or a total makeover.
Yeah.
Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing.
No.
They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Cops told the boyfriend to come down the next morning, but then they called him back and told him to forget it. They have another lead. Now you're not the number one suspect anymore. He says, quote, when I heard she'd been murdered, I felt real sad. I wanted to cry. No matter what was going on between us, I always loved her because she was my kid's mother. The kids saw it on the news, and I had to be honest with them because I didn't want them to hear it from someone else or from a kid my son was going to school with. He also said that she had a good side to her. She was bright and had the most balls I've ever seen on a woman. She would just stick up for herself if she thought she was right. She was a little spitfire. She was unbelievable. She was one big ball of energy, but she was also very gentle. She liked simple things, but she wasn't one of those flashy, I want girls. She just wanted the simple things. She wanted to get by in life and be happy. So
marry her.
Yeah, well, he didn't.
She's
he did,
terrific.
and then they got divorced, and then now, her remains are being found in a whatever the fuck. So
Landfill. Yeah.
Landfill. Now, they do have another lead, and they want to talk to a young man who we'll talk about right here. A guy named Jeffrey Mailhot.
Yeah.
He is 33 years old at the time, and he's just kind of there's not a lot you can say about him. Put it that way. This one in this book, they sum it up really well when they say the perfect representation of him is that there's no picture in his 1989 high school yearbook of him. It just says camera shy. He's just a blank space. This guy, not real. He can't figure out who he is. You know what I mean? People that even know him are like, I don't know. Like, they're like, well, how'd you describe Jeffrey? And he's like, I don't know. Like, he's just like a guy.
Wow.
I don't know what he do. Like, does stuff. I don't know. Like, they don't know anything about him. He's just kind of like wallpaper. He's just there.
Okay.
There's not a real, nothing stands out about him. Like, he does this crazy shit. And then, he sniffs fucking glue all the time or whatever.
He doesn't fit into any stereotypical mold that anybody can just say he's this.
That's it. No, John DiCristofaro, who's a former classmate of his, says, quote, I'd see him at parties or in bars, always toward the back of the room, never mingling. That's the memory most people would have of him.
Wow.
Just there, but not making any impression.
Part of the landscape.
Part of the landscape. Yeah, like an extra. He's like an extra in his own life, basically.
He's a bush in his particular his life.
In the school play, in the fourth grade school play, he plays a tree. I'm a rock this year. So that's kind of what he is. He grew up in a nice neighborhood. Everybody says he kind of kept to himself. He's that's it. They said when he was 9, his parents got divorced, and everybody said he was a lot quieter after that.
Yeah, that
kind of traumatized him a little. Yeah. Then when he was 17, his mom died of lung cancer, which is 17's. No. 17 is a young age to lose a parent. That's tough. Right. That's tough on anybody. And then 22 when his father died. So
God damn it.
22
He's alone at 22?
Yeah, 22 is too young to have no parents. You know, like something can happen to one of them or whatever, but you got to have somebody at 22. That's a little young.
Also, between 18 and 28, you're figuring shit out still. And if something happens that's traumatic and you have to regress and go to your parents' house, he doesn't even have that opportunity.
No, it's really difficult, and that's anybody in that would be a tough thing. So he tried. Once he became an adult, he really tried to have an identity because he has no identity. Like normally, like remember in high school, you'd be like, "Oh, who's that kid? Oh, that's Craig. He's like, he's
one of the jocks.
He's a jock, or like, he's like a goth kid, or he's like this, or he's like, he's a nerd, or whatever the fuck you'd say. He has no identity.
Nothing.
He's just Jeffrey, who's kind of boring. That's it. So he tried to find an identity, and he tried everything. He bought a Harley at one point. All right. Bought a Harley, bought a leather jacket.
My guy.
Tried to just, go to like places where bikers hung out and just like hang out there. Buddy. Like, I'm one of you guys, huh?
Yeah.
What do you say? Motorcycles, huh, fellas? That's right, huh? Motorcycles and chicks, right? He just didn't fit in.
Yeah.
He's, by the way, reports have him at anywhere between 5'3" and 5'5" in terms of height. So,
I mean, any of those, it's the same guy.
It doesn't matter at that point. But and I will say this, and I feel bad because I feel like, and I mean no pun intended, I feel like I'm punching down about this. Sorry. But I'm not.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm not. No, you're
I'm
not
punching
either.
Straight away, babe.
But there is a certain psychological thing that happens. It's not the same thing. It's different with each guy. But when you get guys that are under 5'5", that's a different psychology.
It's a different guy.
It's a different guy. There's a lot of, I mean, it's not everybody, but I would assume in most people, there's a lot of inadequacy things. There's a lot of that. It's probably, and this is only from talking to women about this, but it seems like it's the equivalent of if a girl is very heavy in high school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That she feels like, even if everybody likes her and she's popular and people want to fuck her, she still feels like, I don't fit in with those cheerleader girls or whatever, because that's how you feel in high school, right or wrong.
And in terms of ostracized, not as ostracized, but even outcast, the short man is essentially the chubby girl. It's the same thing.
Yeah, the short guy has to have a fucking giant personality. Like you get like Big Ed from 90 Day Fiance. He's the guy that I showed you the picture and we said he looked like Ram Man and then found out he had a disease. Yeah. But he's like 4'11" and he's got this crazy, like he puts costumes on. He's got a tattoo of his face on his fucking leg. Like you know what I mean? He's got a shower curtain of his face. Like he bought his own merch and put it up in his fucking house. Like, that's crazy. I don't have a small town murder shower curtain just because it's my shit. So that's weird.
That's hilarious.
That's like a little narcissistic, I feel like. And this guy takes it to another level. He's just got pictures of himself on his wall.
There is something hilarious about podcasters wearing their own shirt in public.
It is. It's pretty fucking funny.
It's a bit far.
We don't do that.
No.
We don't. You just
I don't do that at our shows. I don't do that even when there's like a reason to wear our shit.
No, if you're a band, you don't wear your own shirt on stage. That's Bush League.
Lars is not wearing a Metallica shirt behind the drums.
It's considered kind of Bush League to do that.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's
Nikki Sixx doesn't have a fucking Shout at the Devil shirt.
No, because back in the day he would have had like a flowing, like a blouse with like slashes in it and like
it would cover up the fishnet, James.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to cover the fishnet. Hey, Jimmy, you don't want to cover the fishnet. That's where the action is.
James, you got to see the nipples.
Oh, it's the nipples. The nipples. He's got nipples. He's got a nipple shirt.
Unbelievable.
So he tries to fit in there, doesn't fit in. He liked wrestling a lot in the 90s. He was super into wrestling. As you know, the Monday Night Wars, late 90s, wrestling was very big. So he said he wanted to build his body up, so he tried to weight train. So he gets like thicker. So he's like 5'3" and kind of a thick little guy now. You know what I mean? And he even thought maybe I could be a wrestler. You know, I'm a little guy. You know, maybe I could be a manager or something. So he even thought about that. He went to karaoke at the karaoke bar.
Anything.
Sang, you know, fucking Kiss songs and shit.
I want to be known for something except for being.
And then even there, he'd like sing a song and they'd be like, yeah, that's great. And then they'd just ignore it. He doesn't stand out. He doesn't stand out.
Oh, my God, this feels so familiar. Give it time, buddy. Do comedy.
I was going to say, I'll give them credit that at least he's trying things. Yeah. He's not just like, well, fuck everybody. They suck. You know, I don't need to fit in. He's like, well, fuck, I'll try shit. I need to fit in. I want to get laid here. What am I doing? But
most of these guys turn to AR-15s and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shooting them at people, not just like having them and taking them to a range or some shit either. Just like, I'm going to fucking kill everybody because, God damn it, I can't find what I'm good at. That's what's going on. So he said that nobody noticed him. The manager at the Box Seats sports bar there that he sang karaoke at said, quote, he didn't really stand out in a crowd. Bad or good, he never stood out.
Jesus.
Just a fucking boring guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he ends up getting his own place here at 221 Cato Street in Woonsocket. It's a 4-unit house. Remember the real estate report? That's why I put a multi-unit in there so we talk about it. It's a multi-unit 4-family home. 2 of them were vacant, so he gets one of them. 2 of them are getting renovated, so they're empty. And then there's a third one vacant that he rents. And then there's an old lady across the hall. And then she died, and then nobody else moved in. So
just him in this giant-ass place.
Him in a 4-family house. Just a big empty house.
He can't even be included at home.
No. People die. People fucking leave. Renovations don't go well. They must have whoever's renovating your house doing it. I'm not sure.
I would assume so. Just taking out all the electric.
Yeah, just ripping it out after they just put it in. So he lived there. He found it was private. It was quiet. I mean, it's a big house with empty apartments above and below you. So, I mean, very quiet.
Yeah. Except for between, 6 a.m. and noon. That evidently is the working hours of people these days. I had no idea. They show up before you and leave before anything's done.
What happened? Did they leave for lunch? Oh, no, for the day. No, they're gone for the day. So He hangs out there. He does have a small group of friends. They think he's a good guy. They say he's very sensitive. He's called very generous, good-humored. They say he's he likes to make jokes. He likes comedy stuff. Like he watches comedy shows, and he can go back and forth and joke around with him and shoot the shit, basically.
Quoting Dane Cook.
Oh God, I hope not. Jesus
in 2004, is that when this is?
Was. Yeah, he probably was. Yeah. Let's hope not. But he was a Simpsons fan. I heard he said so. Okay. Maybe he was just quoting Simpsons lines, which is
fingers crossed.
Way preferable. So they said that he liked to drink on the weekends. Just when he wasn't working. A girlfriend of his said that he would sit by a campfire sometimes, and he would drink so hard that he would, be slurring his speech and mumbling and shit like that. But it was only on the weekends. He's a machinist at a company called Avery Dennison.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know what a machinist does, but something
they make
with machines.
Metal parts, James. It's incredible.
Yeah, say something with machines. So that seems impressive, or at least skill work of some kind. So she always said about him, this woman that went out with him, that she always kind of thought something was a little off about him, though. She said he was really, really OCD. Like she thought he had like a legitimate obsessive compulsive disorder. Everything in his home, his car, even in his pockets, in his wallet, everything had to be perfect in the right spot, facing a certain direction.
Yeah.
Very control-oriented with all the little things. She said he would, multiple times a night, he would check his wallet to make sure that all the bills faced the same way and the stack was like it was the right height out of the wallet or in the wallet. You know what I mean? Wow. Everything was perfect. Yeah. He'd like take his wallet out to fix it and make sure it didn't get out of whack in his pocket.
People rearrange their sock drawer. He's doing it with his wallet.
Yeah, that's exactly with everything he does. That's the other thing. People in his apartment were afraid to touch his stuff because he was so crazy about it being in order, and everything was in such perfect order. Like at a museum, you don't want to touch anything because it'll they know which direction it's facing. If I move it, I'm going to be in trouble. Like they said, like his CDs and his DVDs, if you looked at it, if you looked at a CD or a DVD back when that was a thing, once you put it back, he would frantically rush over and make sure it was straight in the right direction, and you put it in the right slot and it was in the right place. Yeah, very, very, very OCD.
Wow.
So I get that a little bit because I'm like that to a certain extent with things, but not like that where I'm like, oh my God, what happened? I got to fix that right now. I'd be like, mental note, I'll fix that later.
Right. Once these people leave, so they don't think I'm fucking crazy.
Exactly. That's the difference of I can control it to not look crazy, whereas I can't control it and I have to do it is a different thing.
What I do is certainly fucking insane, but I don't want people to see it.
Never.
Right.
Never. She said that he was dark sometimes. She and other friends also knew where he hid his spare house key, and they would use it from time to time to go inside and check on him because, quote, sometimes he wouldn't answer the phone or come to the door for days. Quote, it was like he dropped off the earth. So that was a common thing that happened. One night, she said she told him that she was falling for him. They were in a relationship.
Yeah.
And he said, quote, I'm sorry, I can never be in love with anyone. I'll always be alone. That's what he told her.
That's dark as fuck.
That's some dark shit. He didn't even try to lead her on or anything. He was like, nope, sorry, I'm a loner.
I'm a loner, Dottie.
Yep, I'm a loner, Dottie. Sorry, I can't, I'm a rebel. Can't do it. Here I go again on my own. Get on the hood of my car right now. I'll tell you why. Well, I'll stay with you for a while if you get on the hood of my car, sprawl out, and let me scream, here I go again, on my own at the top of my lungs, out the T-tops of my 87 Trans Am. What do you say?
Do you think he's just like a picky guy and just is not into her like that, and he thinks he can get better?
Oh, I don't know. That's the thing.
Is he one of those guys?
She said that they got along. She said she'd ride with him on his motorcycle, and they'd go play pool together, and they had nicknames. She called him Bear. He's a tiny bear, and he's a Berenstein bear. And she called him Butterfly, or he called her Butterfly. So they had little nicknames. She also said because they were asking about this, she said that they got into some some sexual things together, just a little bit, got a little kinky, a little freaky, you know. She said that, but she was comfortable enough with him to do weird shit with him, you know.
All right.
That's something. And she wasn't like scared of him or anything. She would, she wanted him to choke her sometimes, so he would happily oblige, and they would. That was a thing they would do. When some people are into fucking being choked and choking.
Listen,
and
man, whatever
all
it
that
takes
shit
for you to come, I'm doing it.
You know, well, yeah, most guys are like that. I'm. That's one thing where I'm out right there, because if you like, I've heard too many murder stories, and I'm not going to be accused of. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go to prison because somebody was like, "I can only come if you choke me." Like, that's your fucking problem. Then you choke yourself. My handprints aren't going to be. My 6'4" can palm a fucking basketball handprints aren't going to be wrapped all the way around your fucking throat. You're going to have to make that happen on your own, sister. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm not going to accidentally kill anybody during sex.
The trick is, James, you squeeze the sides and push the webbing in, and that way you don't hurt anybody.
But look, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you squeeze the sides, and you're going to paralyze her.
It's not going to go well. I'm a big, huge guy. They're going to come over, find Sarah dead. That's not going to work out very much. She's 5'1", like 110 pounds. I'm in deep shit at that point. I'm a murderer then. I'm not going to be like, no, she said I should only come if I choked her. They'd be like, yeah, right. Hands behind the back. Done. I'd be done. Not doing it.
I think it's more, I don't know for sure, but I think it's more of like slowing the blood flow to the brain more than the cutting off the oxygen. Does that make sense?
Well, I've read about this too, and there's like physical get-offs on this with the lack of oxygen that people get on, and there's also a certain like control and wanting to be controlled thing that goes on that some people are into, and power dynamics. Yeah. So there's a lot of different reasons for choking that people do.
Makes it feel dangerous, like I'm taking this more than she's giving it. You know what I mean?
And women are usually the ones that like.
Yeah, they want it. Yeah.
They're the ones that request it a lot.
That's not a thing I want, James.
You don't just start choking women, especially not at that time.
No.
You know, like, now we're doing this
because it was asked for.
That's a request. That's a total request live type of situation. We're not going to just play that in the rotation. No. If you want to hear that, you're going to have to call in and ask for it. You know what I'm saying? We don't play the deep cuts.
Right. You got to get in. You got to call in and ask for "I'm Your Puppet" before it just gets played.
Yeah. Well, that's even a puppet. It's got to be like a deep cut. I'm not. We don't play the B-sides unless anyone asks for it. Right. So she said she would tell him to basically choke her until breathing became a little difficult, and then he would stop, and she would get some air, and they'd go back and do it over and over again. That was like their thing. She said, quote, "We both enjoyed it. I remember telling him, 'My God, you look so psychotic when you do that,' as does anyone who's fucking and choking someone at the same time. That's a psychotic look." You know?
He's probably surprised that he's capable, first of all.
Something.
There is a little. I'm sure there's a little bit of crazy behind the eyes when it happens. So.
But that's the thing. He's got a little spark of something here.
Yeah.
Now, women have been disappearing as far back as the early 90s, and they always thought, you never know if it's serial killers, if it's whatever, but as we know, prostitutes are extremely, and I'm using this very specifically, this term, because people that say sex worker, that kind of encompasses a lot more also. We're saying this specific thing doesn't also include dancers and people like that. This specific thing is people who are on the street getting into strangers' cars. That's a very specific thing. So that's why, we're using the clinical term here for it. So, they said it's not uncommon for them to disappear because they're the most murdered people there are. People don't look at them like people, and a lot of times they don't have families looking for them sometimes. And look at Gary Ridgway. How many women did he kill because no one was fucking looking for them?
Right.
They were runaways. They were people who had gone there to do this and not be around their family. So it's difficult, and these are people that need the most help, and they're given obviously the hardest path. So
unbelievably vulnerable, and their job entails meeting someone new and being the most intimate you can be with a person, and alone with that person, and
it's
you don't know that person.
think about it this way, guys. Your girlfriend, your wife, your daughter, your mother, some of the streets that you've seen, and we've all seen women on the streets in whatever city you live in or even bigger town or whatever. Would you want any of those women in your life just not even doing what those women are doing, but would you let them walk down that street at midnight? Or would you say, fuck out of here? What are you doing? Are you crazy? Take this knife and a fucking stun gun and, don't get murdered. So it's just dangerous to be out at that point. So said summer of 2004, though, when 3 women go missing in 17 months, they said, quote, they just disappeared. This is a police detective. They just disappeared. We had no clues, no suspects. They just kind of vanished. So it was always in the back of your mind that maybe it's somebody, one person doing this, know, who knows? They might be just really good at it. They said, though, in the past deaths, after a while, they'd always been able to pin down these, 3 women disappeared in a year. They would figure out that it was all isolated. It wasn't together. One woman died over here. Another woman was killed by her husband. And then this woman was whatever. Oftentimes it was, you just never know. So they are obviously looking this. Now, what broke the case is in mid-July. This is where the one's ex-boyfriend didn't have to come in, wasn't the number one suspect anymore. Mm-hmm. A tip came into police headquarters, called in on the tip line, and suggested that detectives meet a woman named Jocelyn Martel, she had a arrest record, quite a lengthy arrest record for drugs and prostitution and everything else. They found her at a detention center awaiting trial. So good place to talk. She tells them of an encounter with a man who offered sex for cash, obviously, and then attacked her inside of her apartment. She described the building and its location matched 221 Cato Street. Remember that? Yeah. That's where our friend Jeffrey lives, where no one else lives but him there. That's right. As we remember. So they end up, the police look around because she described the house. They match it to that description to that house. So they look and say, see who lives there. And they go, only one fucking guy lives here. That's convenient. Yep. They figure out who he is. They show her a photo spread. And she said, that's the guy. Jeffrey Malhot's the guy who did this to me. So they end up tracking down in the following days. They track down several more women who describe similar assaults perpetrated here. So, this was enough to get an arrest warrant for him. So July 16, 2004, Jeffrey Malhot comes home from his machine job work, and he finds a bunch of police detectives sitting there waiting for him, which is never a heartening thing to have happen.
I mean, one is too many.
One is too many. Yeah. You're like, either someone died or you think I did something. One of the two. Either way, bad times for me. Yeah. Don't like this. They never just come over to check, see how you're doing.
It's very rare.
Me and my the homicide squad just wanted to come over and make sure that the new transmission you got in your car is working out for you. It's okay? All right. We'll be on our way then. What's your favorite local grocery store? We're just wondering because Pete here just moved into the area and he's wondering, we're just knocking on doors.
Heard there was building a Whole Foods around here, but I think that's a bit pretentious. Do you know where the Trader Joe's is?
What do you think, right? Whole Foods a little much? So they were waiting to arrest him for assaulting this woman.
Somebody found an identity all of a sudden.
Yeah, an identity, definitely. Jesus. Unfortunately, it's Ted Bundy is the identity he's trying to fulfill by doing this. So they bring him down to the police station, and they start talking to him. Now, he has no fucking idea why he's there, as we'll find out. He's done plenty of stuff, and he has no clue exactly what's going on. So he knows these women, he's definitely done bad things to them because that's why they've gone to the police and identified him. So anyway, when they meet him, the police are completely off guard because they're thinking, okay, we might have a serial killer and we think this is the guy. And then they meet him and they go, oh, he's not the guy.
This little guy?
He's a 5'3", chubby, milquetoast, boring, like he's
machinist.
Right. Yeah, he's not doing this. Is not. I think we have some sort of mistake here. They said he was polite, friendly, soft-spoken. Never had any arrests at all. Not even a speeding ticket. Guy's clean as a whistle. Whatever. His landlord called him the ideal tenant. Said he has a steady job. Always has the rent check on time. Perfect tenant. We love him. Doesn't fuck anything up. Have you seen his apartment? It's the neatest. I've never seen anyone keep an apartment so neat. I'm not even going to have to paint when he moves out. It's tremendous.
Look at his DVD collection. You can understand how he does for my fucking place.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's going to keep everything perfect. Right. That's the guy you want. They said that, yeah, he had a lot of muscle on there, but they said he still looked like a little kid because he's like 5'3" and he's got kind of a baby face, and he's kind of pudgy too, which gives him more of a baby face.
Right.
So they're like, this can't be the guy. But then one of the detectives said, quote, he had the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing going. Everybody he worked with loved him. The landlord, he's yelling that we should leave this poor kid alone. We thought maybe he had something to do with one of them, two of them, but there's no way that this guy's a serial killer. No fucking way. We've never heard anybody be so universally praised as just a calm, nice, easygoing guy. So he's probably not killing people, and the look of him and everything. So,
James, that's the question they've got to ask now, though. Is he an outcast and ostracized, or is he a fucking chameleon and a genius?
Who knows? That's the thing. Or is he just kind of a guy who slips through the cracks and then picks the lowest hanging fruit? You know what I mean?
Lashes out because of that.
Who knows? We'll find out a lot here because they set up a video so they could do the interview. First, I find interesting, and I find homicide interrogations fascinating, by the way, because it's the ultimate it's the ultimate mental chess game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have a person who murdered someone and two people sitting in a room who think that you murdered someone, and they don't have the evidence to arrest you, or else they already would have, but for the murders, but they're trying to get you to admit it, is a crazy thought.
Because they don't have the evidence yet, and they need that piece.
Yeah.
That'll make them not have to chase anything down.
Yeah, you can tell. And you can tell because when they do have great evidence, like on the first 48, when they have great evidence, they'll still go at a guy because no matter how good evidence he is, you still want a confession.
The confession trumps everything. Right.
They'll still keep going at him, but if he's being a ball breaker and he won't give anything and whatever, they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? See you later. We have your DNA and ballistics. Eat a dick, motherfucker, and they just leave. Whereas if they have nothing, they'll pound away until the person says, I'm leaving, basically, because they have nothing else to go on, no evidence. And when someone's trying to sell you something and you don't want to buy it, imagine if that product was life in prison. What are the odds you're going to buy that? That's what they're selling this person in this share.
I'm
Literally.
not buying your extended car warranty. Fuck life in prison.
Imagine life in a fucking prison. That's what or maybe the death penalty. Who knows?
Right.
That's what they're trying to sell you, and they're telling you that you'll feel better if you acquire that. Think about that. Think about the mind fuck that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a crazy job. That's your job.
If somebody takes that job time after time.
Yeah. I sell people prison. That's what I do. Are the hours good? Oh, no, I'm up 36 hours at a time. I haven't seen my kids. I don't know. I don't even know how old my kids are. I think I have a boy and a girl. I'm not sure. I'm not positive. I haven't seen them in that long. But the good part is
I've been selling the worst timeshare of all time for 40 years.
Yeah, and you only have to sign up for 40 years. You can pass it down to your children. They'll be stuck with this responsibility of paying for this. That's what it is.
You can inconvenience your family, make them drive all the way the fuck out here to visit you there.
So
you're going to get 52 weeks a year here.
52 weeks a year, 24/7, 23 of which in a cage. What do you say about that? What, can I sign you up? Well, okay. I got to get it off my chest. It's the ultimate, like, trying to get you excited over a car, and then when you pull in your driveway, you're like, why did I buy this? It's the ultimate that, because you're going to feel better, and you cry, and they go, it's okay, you can tell us anything about it, and maybe they came at you, and I understand, and then as soon as you're done, they're like, all right, yeah, so that's first-degree murder. We're putting him away. He's going to county right now, and someone's going to be looking up his asshole in about 15 minutes. So wipe those tears away, Chief.
We got to go finish the paperwork for the DA. We got to go.
Yeah. We got to go. Sorry. That's what they do. And then you're just like, oh, man, I think I have buyer's remorse about that life in prison that I just got myself.
I want to recant, please.
Yeah.
That's what that is, right? The recantations are absolutely buyer's remorse.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's exactly what it is.
That's a guy going, lifetime? Really?
Yeah. He's trying to bring back jewelry he bought for someone that wasn't really his girlfriend, but he still had it engraved. And they're like, we're not taking back an engraved piece of jewelry. What are you, crazy? That's what that is. It's fucking engraved. You put her name on it. It says to Julie. I can't sell this. Who am I going to sell it? I would have to be someone named Julie. I don't think it's going to work.
Engraved. That's incredible. Oh boy.
So Anyway, the gamesmanship of a homicide.
Back in the case.
Yeah, what am I going to put it at? No one's buying it. It's a specialty item. It's custom. What am I supposed to do with this now? With you,
this is Jared. Do you think we're just going to smelt that back down?
No, good God, no. This is done now.
We can't white that out, you asshole.
What, I just scrape it off with a nail file? No, it's gold, motherfucker. You ruined it. I love it. So that's why I love the gamesmanship of a homicide interrogation.
Yeah.
It's just there's gamesmanship on the people's part, the perpetrator or alleged perpetrators. They're trying to come across a certain way, or they're doing their thing, and they have certain tells that they have if they fall asleep in the interrogation room. That's a pretty good sign that they're guilty.
Sure.
That's one of those. It's like the first rule of homicide: if that you leave them in there for 2 hours, if they fall asleep, probably guilty, because an innocent person left in a homicide interrogation room for 2 hours is banging on the door going, why the fuck am I in here? Let me out. Talk to me and get me the fuck out of here. I didn't kill anybody. What's happening? Whereas everybody else like, well, I'm caught now. Guess it's time to rest.
Thank God. I'm so tired.
Yeah, this is, boy, I'm exhausted. So the guy, the homicide detective, has him read his own Miranda rights on the video. So he said, I understand I have the right for this, and I this, and I that. So he read the Miranda rights rather than reading them to him, which I don't know if that might just be the rule in Rhode Island or something, but it seems like a bit of gamesmanship if it's not, as far as you're trying to make him a participant right away.
Yeah, but is there legalities in that if they read them, that it's not the same?
No, because they're still being read their rights. They're reading their rights, and then they say they understand them. They check the boxes and they sign it, saying, I understand, I understand. So to me, though, it's a bit of gamesmanship in terms of you're going to participate in the process. You're not going to be a passive participant in this. You're going to get you talking.
Sure.
Because that's what they'll do a lot of times. Just try to ask them. They'll ask them regular questions to try to find something that they can have in common, maybe that they can talk about, and put it that way. So they said, do you know why you're here? And he said, no idea. This is a 6-hour interrogation, by the way, this coming up. We're not going to talk about the whole 6 hours, obviously, but we'll hit the important points because I'm fascinated with interrogations and shit. So this is amazing. Going from I have no idea why I'm here to where they go. And he says, no idea. All I know is is assault with a dangerous weapon. I have no idea what this is all about, because I'm in the homicide department. And the cop said, okay, we've had a few complaints come in recently. And he said, a few complaints? And he goes, yeah, we'll get to that, though. We'll talk about all of that. So basically, they're trying to be nice to him. Now, experienced interrogators can tell. That's the other thing, too, is they're watching a person in the room to see what kind of person they are. Right. They watch them over the camera in the box to see what they're doing, because you're going to approach different people different ways. You know what I mean? Somebody who thinks they're real tough, you go at that motherfucker. That's the way to do it. That's what they do. They'll get right in their face. They'll you know what I mean? If they're an introvert, they might back off a little bit. They're trying to make them comfortable. This guy they see as kind of a soft-spoken, calm guy, so they're going to go at him nice, and try to be friends with him and see if they can draw him out that way. Okay. So it's pretty interesting. The detective here says, I feel like you can get more flies with honey than with vinegar. You treat people with respect, talk to them in a kind way, offer them a drink, anything like that in order to get information. It's the other thing on the first 48, whenever someone's confessing, they have like a water and a bag of Cheetos next to them while they're confessing because they were given something. He said there are a number of interview techniques, but the most effective way is to be straightforward with them. The whole idea is to gain their trust, make them comfortable, and make them want to open up and talk to you. If you're going to be a hard ass with them and give them a hard time, then they're just going to close up and you'll never get anything out of them. The days of hitting people with phone books or something like that are over. That just doesn't work.
They did that.
Yeah, because it didn't leave bruises. Yeah, they work people over with phone books.
But cops beat people with phone books to get a confession out of them?
Yeah, that's old school. That's like,
Jesus.
Yeah, you put a phone book, you put it up to someone and
then you punch through it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disperses.
But I didn't know the cops were doing that.
Back in the day, to get confessions out of people. Okay. So, which is horrible, obviously. So I wonder how many false confessions come. Stop beating me, Jesus. So
white pages?
That happens. Yeah, it's good God, it's heavier. I don't like it. He said, quote, he was probably wondering what the hell we were going to talk to him about, wondering what we had on him and if we were going to ask him about the dead girls. Obviously, that's through the back of his mind because he's sitting there knowing he's guilty of murdering these 3 girls. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're going in thinking. So they talk about that sort of shit, and they just have a conversation. Are you married? He said, no, I'm single. They're like, you got a girlfriend? He goes, we just broke up a few weeks earlier. I'm not seeing anybody else, where she living? She lives with her mom. They said, so no one lives with you? He said, no. He said, the last person to live with you was your girlfriend? And he said that they didn't live together. He said, do you see any other type of girls? Which is a weird, any other type of girls? What does that mean? And he said, no. And they said, any relationship with any other girls? And he said, not right now. They said, no one-night stands even or anything like that? Single guy like yourself. Obviously a handsome, strapping stud muffin like yourself. You're not just picking them up left and right?
You strike me as a coxman. Nothing right now?
Yeah, you probably have to fight them off at closing time, don't you? No? So he said, but nothing. I haven't done that in a long time. They said, how long would you say? He said, probably like 4 or 5 months ago is the last time I had a one-night stand. And they ask him who was it with, which this poor girl, this poor fucking woman is just like, fuck it, I'll bang this guy. And now it's coming up in a homicide investigation. Good God. It's literally become like a federal case almost that I banged this guy. Not cool. He said her name was Dawn. And that's all he knew. So poor Dawn. He said they met at the White Horse Saloon in Chapachet. I don't know what that is. And he said he took her back to the apartment. And the cop said, that's it. And he said, last 4 months. That's everything. And they said, okay. Ever picked up a prostitute?
Yeah.
Quote unquote. He says, quote, I've seen him around, but I haven't picked up any. I've seen him around. You just see him. He said, are you sure about
signs and shit that say open.
Yeah, it's one of those. You see him around, right? You know how it is. I see things. I see cats around. I see trees. You see things.
You don't know unless you ask, right?
He said, are you sure about that? And he said, I'm positive. I've picked up a girl that I thought I had seen before who was looking for a ride, and then she kind of propositioned me, but I let her right out. I just let her out. I found out she was a prostitute, and I was like, oh, God, no. That is way above my dainty sensibilities. I cannot do that.
That is not what I was looking for, ma'am.
No. And they said, are you're sure about that there? Where'd you pick her up then? And he said, Arnold Street. Uh-huh. Which is, we know that one. They said, do you know her name? And he said, no, not at all. He said he knew her before, but then, I don't know, didn't know her name. Mm-hmm. So, he's sitting there. All the stories are pretty similar of the women that said he, took him, did weird shit to them in his apartment. But instead, he, each one said that they went to his apartment because he said, we'll go back there and have a couple of drinks and relax. And then each girl said that they found themselves in a chokehold, gasping for air. Apparently, he would choke them. They'd be gasping for air. This wasn't something they asked for. This was just something he was doing. And at the end, he would let them go, and then he would tell them to leave. That's what he would do. He'd release them and say, "I get the fuck out of here. I choked you now." Yeah. So they had also
fucking while they were doing this, or
this was there. They went back to fuck, and then before they fucked, he started choking them, and then they would leave. Basically, that's how it works. So he wouldn't even end up fucking them. They said they're talking about that, and he said. At one point, the detective says, look, this is serious stuff, so try to be as truthful as possible. If you picked up a prostitute, you picked up a prostitute. If you're embarrassed, we really don't care. We're trying to get to the bottom of something, but if we start out like this, where it appears like you're not telling the truth, things don't look good for you, and it goes downhill from there. So, and he's like, oh, okay. They're like, we're going to think bad things of you. And this is the type of guy that you can tell doesn't want you to not like him. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I think the police officer picked up on is his desperation for people to like him. Yeah. So, we won't like you anymore. This type of thing. So he wants to.
play on the shame of him having to pay for sex.
Like we don't care about that,
right.
you know. But if you lie to us here, then you know it's going to get bad for you. Right. We're not going to trust you anymore.
Between friends, brag about the pussy you're getting.
Let's go. Come on, tell me about all these ladies. What were their tits like? Let's do it. We're guys. Come on, let's change your oil. What do you say? Let's go out in the parking lot.
Locker room we're in. Let's go.
So he nodded, and they said again, "Ever pick up a prostitute?" And he said, "Yes." Now it's yes. And they said, okay, when was the last time you did it? He said, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. And that's another thing in homicide investigations all the time. People don't want to admit to like they were selling drugs to somebody and then that person got killed later. And the homicide people are like, I don't fucking care about drugs. Do you understand that? See this it says on my shirt? Homicide.
Murder cops. Right.
Don't give a shit about drugs. Sell all the drugs you want. Don't care. Need to find out who killed the fucking dead guy. That's all I'm worried about.
Sell the drugs, don't kill the guys. It's a bad business plan. If McDonald's was killing everybody that ate their fucking burgers, they'd never get to 1 billion sold. Never.
Ever. Well, they would, but then there'd be no more. It would take a lot. Then it would be over after that because they've killed everyone. They killed everyone. So he said 4 or 5 weeks ago, they said, do you remember who it was or even what she looked like? He said, quote, she was probably about my height, dark hair. That's pretty much all I remember. I don't remember any details. And they said, what happened? Where'd you bring her? He said, we went back to my place. This is the quote. We went back to my place and did the sex. Which makes him sound like he's like a fucking Eastern European immigrant. We go to my place and we did the sex. It
or
was
he's literally
very good.
Never had sex.
Ever. Or he's Borat, one of the two. And I did the sex. I said, yes, it was so good. So the cop jumped in, blowjob, sex?
Hell yeah.
What'd you do? And he said, yeah, blowjob. That's his response. And they said, okay. I love the response to that quote. Okay. And everything went well? No problems? Like he was installing a hot water heater. Everything went well? No leaks or anything? You're good? Water's heating up? All right. I think you're all set there.
You got
gas
hard,
lines.
you put it in her mouth, no teeth dragging. Good?
Everybody happy? All right. He said, yeah, it was. And she left right after. He said that he was very kind of stumbling over his words type of thing. He said, quote, yeah, it was. She left right after. So he's nervous, though, as you would be. As now, I will say this, as a normal person who's any normal guy some guys have no shame. They don't care. Yeah. Like, I fuck hookers all the time. I don't give a shit. I knew a guy who, we were in Vegas at the Hard Rock Cafe, and he's 6 o'clock in the morning before he went back. He's like, I'm going to go grab a hooker real quick. I was like, what? What is wrong? You're just, what is wrong with you? Like,
6 a.m.
No.
It's time for that.
Yeah, it was the end of the night. He's like, what the hell? And the bartender at the Hard Rock all knew that what they were doing because at 6, he goes, all right, ladies, 6 a.m., you got to clear out now. I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes to wrap up what you're doing and clear out. Ladies. And there was half guys and half ladies, but he was talking to the women who were closing deals.
Who are there for work.
Yeah. So guys, though, that do this, some guys are embarrassed, and if strangers that wear suits and ties bring you in a little room and ask you about it, you might be a little uncomfortable, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So they said, how many times were you with this girl? He said, just once. He said he didn't remember her name. He said, I think it was on a Saturday night. He said, that's the only prostitute he ever picked up. And they said, how about any other girls? And he said, that's the only one I've been with. They said, you sure about that? He said, absolutely. So he asked if the cop asked if maybe Jeffrey had a disagreement with this girl about anything. And he said, no, not at all. And then the guy said, nothing went wrong in the apartment. And then Jeffrey said, no, well, she did kind of get upset at me. And he cracks. He goes, because I didn't have as much money for her as she would have liked. And they said,
Jeff,
how much?
Didn't you agree on this before you went up?
Right. That's no woman of the night will come to your home unless you've agreed on a price. I'm sorry. That's,
you already know. And generally, if she comes to your place, the money's on the table before anything happens. That's how it works, man.
And that's what's going on. He said that she said she wanted 30, but I only gave her 20.
Oh, boy.
And the guy said, after? And he said, yeah. And then he said, quote, the cop said, she took care of you without a down payment?
There you
go.
Because
we know, it's the money first. And he said, yeah. And he said, the police officer says, quote, wow, pretty trustworthy hooker, huh? And Jeffrey said, mm-hmm. This is just ridiculous. So then they go from that to, it's a light conversation. They got him to admit to something he doesn't want to admit to that's embarrassing. So then they switch up the tactic and they say, quote, do you have any problems in your life right now? He said, no, I'm fine. He said, everything's good. You're mentally okay? And he said, yeah. And then he said, the cop says, you're a neat guy, huh? And he said, yeah. And he said, inside of your house, because I'm sure, geez, you even fold your undies, he says. So he said, you even fold your underwear. And he laughed, and Jeffrey did, and said, yeah, I get that from my mom. So now they're laughing, and, oh, yeah, you're a neat guy, and all that kind of shit. And then he says, well, she taught you well. Oh, yeah. Where does your mom live? Now, he knew damn well that his parents were dead already.
Oh.
But he wants to get to something he can get personal with him about. Where's your mom live? My mom's dead. And he says, she died? Yeah, my mother and father, back when I was a kid, they both died of cancer. My mom died in 1988, my father in 1993. And so they go, oh, that's terrible. How old were you? I was 17 and I was 22. Oh, my God, that's terrible. They both had cancer. How old were they? Mom was 41. Dad was 47. And they went, oh, you're kidding me. Nope. Oh, God, that must have been so hard on you. Who took care of you? You were only 17, you poor thing. And, he said that they both remarried and he had a pretty large family besides that. And they said, you know what month they died in? And he said, my mom was July, my father was September. They said, you coped with that pretty well. And he said, yeah, it was rough for the first, little while when my mom died, but obviously it was devastating. And after a little while, you get over it, you move on with your life. So they're like having like a heart to heart with him about that. And he said, with my father, it wasn't such a big surprise. At first when my mom died, it was like, oh my God, you don't even believe that something in your family, someone in your family could die like that young and stuff. And, then with his dad, he wasn't surprised. They asked him if he had any problems with drugs or alcohol. He said he's never taken any kind of drugs, but he did drink beer, although not an alcoholic. He's like, just on the weekends, doesn't fuck my life up or anything.
Good for him.
So they asked him if he ever picked up a prostitute after he'd been drinking. I'm going to try to do it this way. Maybe you don't, hey, after you're drinking. And he said, no, I was sober. Then they wanted to know, they said, why did you decide to pick up a woman anyway? And he said, I had just been unlucky lately and it just happened. So they said, well, do you have any hobbies? He said he drives motorcycles. He said, I go on motorcycle runs and things like that. And he says, yeah, I do weightlifting. And he said, yeah, I don't know if you saw my basement. I have a gym down there. That's all my equipment. So he's been working out. They said, all right, Jeff, I appreciate you being honest with us as far as telling us about the prostitutes. I know that's embarrassing. And he said, yeah, I apologize for that. Male Hot says, I apologize for that. And he said, to be quite honest here, I believe there's a little more than that. Maybe a few other hookers at your apartment, maybe, Jeff? Come on, buddy. That's a quote there. Yeah. And he says, well, not recently. So now it's not recently. Yeah. Well, what's going on now? They said, well, how about in the past year? And he said, in the past year, probably 3. So you make him a little comfortable. He opens right up. He wants a friend. You can tell. Some people want a friend. And he said, what about the last 2 years? He said, like maybe a couple. Then there's this line, quote, listen, we're guys too. We're all guys here. Come on.
Yeah.
We're all guys. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, do you remember what these prostitutes look like? And he said, not really. And he said, what's the earliest date you picked one up? And he said, probably 4 or 5 years ago. That was the earliest. And, he said that's all. And so they go on. He said he only took one lady back to his house. He went to motels with a couple others. And he said the first one he ever was with, he took to her place in Providence. He said, they go back of where he was living, this and that. They question him again, subject of ladies here. And again, how many prostitutes have you been with in your entire life? He said 4, 3 of them in the previous 4 years and 1 about 5 years ago. So they said, let me ask you this again, okay? Have you ever had a problem with a prostitute in your house? Any physical activity other than what you agreed to? And he said, nope, no real problems, no. And they said, any reason at all why prostitutes are having a problem with you at all? Because they're making complaints to us. So any problem with that? He said, no, I don't get it. Quote, a couple of them actually said I look like a cop. And they said,
what does that mean?
Yeah. He's trying to be like, make friends with them now? I don't know.
No, they told me I'm one of you.
I'm one of you guys. Yeah, I said, that's friends. Right. We're buddies. He said, any of them ever get hooked up on that and think you're a cop and freak out or anything like that? And he said that, no, none of them ever freaked out. They just got a little nervous around him till he convinced him that he wasn't a cop. That was all. And he said, looking around, thinking like somebody was going to jump out and arrest them or something like that. Thinking I'm trying to like play a sting or something. And they said, again, quote, Jeff, did you ever have a problem with a prostitute in your house? They've asked him this question so many times. And he said, I've never had a serious problem with a prostitute in my house. No.
Oh, Jeff.
Okay. Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff. If Jeff would have just said, lawyer, assault on the one lady is all they have on him. But instead, he says all this stuff. So they said, what do you consider serious? And he said, well, assault with a deadly weapon. Like the one girl, why he's sitting here is basically what he considered serious. He told him that the police officer told him that his hands could be considered deadly weapons, referring to the fact that he'd been charged with choking two women. Mm-hmm. He said, that's never happened. I've never assaulted anybody, period. I'm not a vicious person. Okay. And they said, no. And he said, no. So did you ever get into it with him physically, pushing, shoving? And he said, no. He said, nothing. Some of these girls, they freaked out or whatever, and they just go on like normal. They leave. Do they run out? And Jeff says, well, yeah, when they're in a big hurry to leave because they're out to get their next fix. And they go, how do you know that? And he says, because the last one I was with, she was like, quote, I need to go party and I need to get some shit. Because that's what she would say, obviously, to this guy. And he said, that's what she said she needed the money for. I need to go find my man. He's going to give me a fix. That's what he said the quote was. And he said, the cop said, did she threaten you because you didn't have enough money? Maybe you were threatened and scared by this, this streetwise person. There's a little window in the corner of the room. Maybe she came at you. Maybe it was self-defense. Maybe you were a guy trying to defend your home. You could get a stand your ground. I think there's stand your ground apply to here. I think it does. I think you're going to be okay.
Castle Doctrine right here.
Yeah, it's right here. It's all good. He said, no, she didn't threaten me. She was just aggravated. She was like, whatever, asshole, fucking dickhead, started swearing at me and shit like that and just left. And he said, what would you say if I told you several girls told us what your apartment looks like to a T, and we could pretty much verify and that one thing that pops out is your neatness and how everything is set up in that apartment. How could that possibly happen unless they'd been there? What would you say about that? And he said, what would you say about them describing my apartment? I really don't know. So they said, and that's why you've got to start being a little more honest with us, because this can look worse than it is. Yeah. And he said, yeah. He said, maybe you just got something going on in your life. You've got problems and you're not this bad guy that you're being portrayed as. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he said, yeah. He said, you have no record. You've never been arrested before. You've never even had a problem. You're saying you're not a violent man or anything like that. Yeah. He's like, okay, I like where this is going. Yeah. And he said, but some fucked up shit has taken place in your apartment, okay? And you're going to have to help yourself out with this problem. And he says, yup. He's going along. He says, because you can end up in a big fucking pickle, okay? And he said, okay. He's just answering whatever his last thing. Yep. Okay.
52 weeks. Sign right here.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. What happened? What, as far as the prostitutes? He says, yeah, obviously. What the fuck are we talking about?
I'm not talking about your dodgeball DVD. What the fuck do you think?
So he says, Jeff, we understand what you're going through, man.
Yeah.
He said, and Jeff said, no, I just can't do that. I've had prostitutes in my house. Yeah, but I never. And they said, he goes, Jeff. All quiet. Jeff. He said, and the guy goes, I've never. And he goes, Jeff. Stops him. He goes, Jeff, you're on the right track. Okay. What happened? You've had some problems, right? And he goes, I've had misunderstandings. Yeah, but
yeah.
I've never touched anybody. I've never physically forced myself on anybody. And he goes, no, I can tell something's eating away at you, Jeff. It's very obvious.
What is it, Jeff?
Because we've been doing this for a long time. Jeff goes, Jeff, He goes, all right, this isn't fucking stories that we're getting. This is serious stuff, okay? Jeff, He goes, we're hearing about... and you've had some problems in your apartment with these girls, and and I'm thinking it's because you've had some problems in your life, okay? I don't think you're a bad guy. And he said, yup. And he goes, but I think people are going to portray you as this bad guy. You understand what I'm saying? And he says, I do. He says, I think that's your job to help us out here so you can, to let us understand what's going on in your head, okay? So we can help you. That's what we need to do is help you. He said, because it's so clear in your eyes that something is bothering you, and I think that's happened. I think that things have happened sometimes, which isn't you. This isn't you, Jeff. Jeff, it's not you. And he said, quote, no, I'm not. I'm actually just amazed that this is Jeff now. He goes, I'm actually just amazed this is all happening right now, that I'm being accused of like being abusive to people. I don't know what else to say. And he says, what would you say if I told you that more girls have told us the layout of your apartment and described it to a T than you're saying you've been with in 5 years? And he just kind of sits there and they go, let's get down to this. Several girls told us certain things you've done, okay? Do you know what I'm talking about? You do, don't you? And he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. What is it? If you get this off your conscience, it's going to be like somebody lifted a fucking car off your back. I've seen this 1,000 times. Just tell me, what is it? And he said, and he said, you what? And he says, I've gotten a little physical. Okay.
Understatement of the year.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. So, it's at this point that they whip out pictures. Okay. They whip out pictures of Christine Dumont, of Stacey Goulet, of Audrey Harris, and they line them up on the table. Now they put them on the table. And they said he looked pretty jolted. And he just said, I don't know any of these girls. And they said, how are you so damn sure? And his answer, quote, because I've never killed anybody. That's what you're getting at, right? And he goes,
Jeff, you idiot.
And the cop goes, I don't know if anyone in these pictures was killed, Jeff, but they are missing. So not good. Yeah. It's at this point where the cops are also searching his house and 221 Cato Street. Wow. 3 rooms. Looks like a bachelor pad furnished with mismatched kind of, furniture that's. Yeah. He's got PlayStations and shit like that. But,
you know the apartment.
Yeah. Single guys don't go out and buy beautiful living room sets. They'll buy a TV and a PlayStation and sit on a fucking beanbag. They don't care.
You got a milk crate for a nightstand. We know what it is.
We know how it works. Mattress on the floor. We get it. So they sprayed everything with luminol.
Oh, boy.
The tub, floor, walls, all this aerosol can of luminol in the bathroom.
The first time I heard about this shit when I was like 14, I was stunned that this existed, and I want to meet whoever created this shit. It's cool amazing. As shit. Yeah.
So everybody knows that they put this, and it reacts with the blood, and then you turn the light, you turn it on, and boom.
And then you got a night light and blood spatter.
Exactly. So once they do it, the bathroom light went off, and they said it was a fucking mess in there. Wow. As soon as they turned the light off. The porous grout lines between the tiles became a luminescent grid, they said.
Wow.
Just a grid lit up. They said the tub, the toilet, the floorboards, the pipes, sections of the tiled wall, they took it all because it all had blood all fucking over it. They said by the time they finished, all that remained in the bathroom was a hole gaping to the basement below. Every item and every chunk of debris, they, packaged it up and everything like that. So the mop he used to clean the floor, they had that. Tons of evidence of blood and DNA and everything in that. He kept it there. They seized his home computer to see if he'd ever talked about this with other people, and he didn't, though. They also grabbed a Halloween a picture from Halloween that he's dressed as a wrestler and choking a teddy bear.
Oh, Jesus.
They're like, this ought to do it. He likes to choke things. So, in the basement, they found a handsaw. A recently purchased one that has a picture of a shark on a wooden handle, and it's hidden behind his washer and dryer. Mm-hmm. Yes, they also look at tapes from surveillance camera at a local hardware store and show him buying the tool just one day after the last victim disappeared.
Oh, no.
From there, they go to the street. Mailhot had told the police that he disposed of a latex glove at one point. Basically, they go out into the sewer lines because they think things might have been flushed down the toilet or something like that. So they do that. They explore a pipe using a video camera. They found an infestation of a bunch of worms attracted by a high-protein material that had come down the drain. Something like, flesh. Public Works crew dug up several feet of sewer line, and they couldn't get anything out of it, though. They said that it was his just stuff there, basically, because he had so much protein that he was drinking to.
Oh, okay.
Basically, his shit was attracting them because there was so much protein in it.
Creatine, and
Yeah. So at the same time, they're scouring the landfill for anything else as well, which is terrible in July. Nobody wants to do that. So an officer in training tore open a trash bag. That's how they were looking there for her, and they found a human body part. I didn't want to give it away earlier, but that's how they found her. They were looking for her. They collected DNA material, and that's how they found who she was, obviously. And so they had to tell her parents about that and everything. The landfill search, though, found no traces of Harris or Dumont, and similar DNA tests were, performed on everything. They gathered more than 170 items in evidence. By the way, still had his motorcycle, $17,000 Harley Fat Boy, all perfectly spotless and under a cover and everything behind his apartment.
That's a real bike, man. For a guy that big, that's a big bike.
For a 5'3" guy? Well, he wants to be Mr. Diesel, though.
It's a lot of softail for that bike.
I'm eating a lot of protein, Jimmy. So they said, haven't you heard that these women disappeared? And he said he hadn't heard about him. Quote, I'm not really a news person.
Oh, boy.
You know how that goes.
Not a newsy.
I'm not a real newsy kind of guy. He said, I turn on the news here and there, but I've never heard of them being mentioned. And so they go back, all right, what do you do? What do you do with these women? He goes, what do you usually do with them? He goes, quote, I choke them a little bit.
Okay.
He goes, okay, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Jesus, what the fuck? He goes,
that's
okay.
What we've been talking about for the last 2 days.
Fucking we've been going in circles. He goes, okay, I'm sure you felt better about getting that off your chest. I'm looking at you, and it doesn't seem like something that you would normally do, right? And he goes, no, it wasn't. And they go, what happens? What makes you do this? And he goes, well, it was from drinking. And they go, you think it's from drinking? And he said, yeah. And they go, how many girls have you choked? Now be honest with me. And he said, quote, I'd say like probably 5 or 6. Uh-huh. And they go, 5 or 6. And how long's this been going on? He said, the last year or two. The same choke every time? And he says, pretty much. He goes, from the back with my arm. And he basically puts him in a chin lock. That's what he does, like a wrestling chin lock. Like a sleeper hold. Yeah. And he said, the cop said, where'd you get that from? Like wrestling or something? And he goes, well, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Like, he's like, I suppose. Yeah. And he said, it's, and then the cop said, it's not normal. And he said, no. And the cop said, not normal at all. I mean, this is something that you're going to have to deal with in your life, and you're going to have to get help for. All right. And he goes, yeah, sure. He goes, and that's going to start by you being honest with us like you have. And we appreciate that. And he goes, you're showing us your true colors of being a man right now. And that's what's important. What you did isn't important. It's how you react now. He said, when was the first time you had a girl in your apartment? They go back and forth with that. He can't remember exactly what she looks like, blah, blah, blah. They said, did she pass out? And he said, yeah. And they said, all of them? And he said, no, some of them. He goes, and what happens after they pass out? And Jeffrey said, I just left her there until she woke up, and then she left the house. And he said he did that with all of them. Wow. They said, do you get any sexual gratification when this happens? Be honest. And he said, no, actually, I don't. And the cop said, no. And he said, no, it's just when I've been drinking. So he said, would you normally drink before you go out? And he says, just a beer. They asked, do you feel a little bit of rage there? And he said he admitted that he felt some rage when choking the women. And he told the police that the women who didn't pass out after he choked them did their best to fight him off. Once they started fighting, he said he just let them leave his apartment. He said, quote, they ran out of the house. Okay. So he said, weren't you worried they'd tell your story to the police? And he said, actually, one lady said she had a phone and she was calling 911, but nothing, the cops never came. So I don't know. So they asked, when did you choke anyone last? And they're going back and forth. And they said, last couple months. And he kept emphasizing none of them were black. He would say none of them are black. Meanwhile, one of these women obviously is black. Mm-hmm. He said he never knew their names. And anyway, he said, what's going on in your head when this is happening? And Malhot said, I honestly don't know. Like, I just think it's due to alcohol. And he said it wasn't for gratification. They said, did you cry or anything afterwards? He said, yeah, I felt bad afterwards. Why'd I do that, And he said he hasn't sought any professional help or anything like that. He hasn't, told anybody about it, told any friends. He just said they leave. They seem upset when they leave. And then they said, none of them lashed out at you, hit you back or anything? He said, one did. He said, what happened? She fought me off and got away. And the guy was clever. The cop says, that was the black girl, right? And he goes, honestly, I think she might have been. Yeah, she might have been black. Now all of a sudden she's black. Now, yeah, that's what I mean. You keep poking, or, chipping away. And he said, all right, I mean, obviously you understand when you're choking them. He said a chokehold isn't allowed. I mean, they're outlawed for officers because they're dangerous. He goes, they're dangerous, right? And the guy, Jeffrey, says, yeah. He goes, what can happen? And Jeffrey goes, you could kill somebody, which sounds like you just lectured a 5-year-old. And he said, how could you kill someone? And he goes, suffocating them. And he said, I never intended to kill anybody, which was an interesting thing to say.
And you go, why'd you do it? And he goes, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. He said, what if you had done... What would you have done if one of the women you choked never woke up? He said, well, I would have called the police because I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I killed someone. Jesus Christ, I would have been a wreck. And he says, how do you know? How are you able to live with these other things you're remembering now? Uh-huh. And he says, that's something, honestly, it feels good to talk about right now, Jeffrey does. And he says he's been hiding it a couple years. And then they said, is there any chance that maybe you took your choking games a little too far at some point? And he said, no. And he said, have you ever killed anybody? Be honest with me, Jeff.
What happens when you choke him, Jeff?
Jeff, what happens when you choke him, Jeff? And he says, quote, this is the cop. I have to be honest with you. There's another thing we need to talk to you about. Did you push it a little too far with some of them? One of them. I mean, that's something you've got to relay to us. Do you know what I mean? If you took it too far, if you've got a problem, you have to tell me. And Jeff said, yup. He just said, yup.
Yup, what?
Yup. And he said, and you've let all the other girls go and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you're showing that you're doing this for God and for God knows what reason. And we could delve into a few things to try to figure out why, but there's a very high chance that it could have gone too far. And he said, it's never gone too far. I'd never kill anybody. And that's when they start kind of going at him about his parents dying. And he said, they had proper burials. They're in consecrated ground, Jeff. He said, the families of these girls can't mourn. They can't say goodbye. They'll have to live with that the rest of their lives, Jeff. Yeah. How are you going to do that? And then they spread the pictures out again. And they said, what happened, Jeff?
Look at him,
Tell
Jeff.
us. Look at the pictures.
Yeah.
What happened? He said, you just pushed it too far, right? Things got out of hand. And then they tell him, they say that, if you accidentally killed him, it'd be better for you to confess now because then you'll get a lesser punishment, which isn't true. But, you can tell a guy anything when he's in there. He said, I don't know any of these girls. And he said, no. And he goes, no, none of these is the ones I had. He goes, are you positive? He goes, that was a pretty quick look. Why don't you take a little closer look at them? And he said, yeah, well, there's 3 of them. And then all of a sudden, now there's 3 of them that he knows out of the girls. And he goes, they all kind of look the same. I mean, I can think of some of the girls that talk to us. I mean, are you sure? And Jeff said positive. And he said, well, you weren't even sure it was a black girl. So how can you know that these are the pictures and know right away that these are any of the girls? He says, well, because, I'm looking at their faces. And he says, these girls are all over and you've never seen them before. He said, if I did, I would recognize them, because it's usually dark. I wouldn't recognize them, because it's usually dark out. So he said, so you're not 100% sure? He goes, no, I'm pretty sure. So they're going around. He wants to make sure. He said, none of them have ever been in my apartment. And they're talking about how can you be so sure? You're drunk when you do this, you said. He said, quote, Jeff, you know something. We deal with these girls all the time. Maybe I'm not a very good cop or anything, but I forget their names even. I mean, who can remember these fucking women coming in and out? He goes, we've been dealing with them for 10 or 15 years, and I forget their faces, forget who they are, and yet somehow you're telling us that you drink so much that you go into doing things like that you like, but you still can't clearly 100% you can, on the drop of a dime, tell us that none of these are them. And so he goes out. He goes, can you pick them out? Keep looking. And he says, don't matter. That's what Jeff said. Don't matter. He says, no, don't you think we're trying to get to something? He says, it's just that you answered awful quickly. Are you sure none of these girls were in your apartment? He said, so if our collectors, they find any evidence, it's a mistake. If they go in there, they find the hairs, fibers, it's a mistake. It's all a mistake. He said, yeah, I've never killed anybody. That's what you're getting at right now. So then he says, who said these girls were killed, first of all, Jeff? And that's what he said, because you're basically accusing me of, choking this girl, choking her until she didn't wake up. So now they're going back and forth. Then he goes, hey, look, we're all guys, Jeff. They go back to that. We're all guys here. He goes, we all have some weird tendencies, don't we? We all have one little peccadillo that makes us horny. You know how it is when you're a guy. Your dick makes you do weird things, Jeff.
Sometimes I get in the wife's asshole without asking.
Hey, it just slips in. You know what I mean? He said, quote, we already know that you have your own things. You've already told us you've done this with these girls.
Oh, boy.
He said, you've already agreed that things could go bad with these girls. Now I've already told you that what it looks like and that one of these girls could have happened. It was all an accident, right? We're clear on that? And he says, mm-hmm. He said, it's like the sergeant told you. These girls are missing. We want to find out what happened. We want their families to have closure. He says, I have nothing to do with this. Okay. So then he tells him that, you know all this thing about, what this is like. You had your parents, all this type of shit. You only choked 5 or 6 of them. And then finally he says, Jeff, your life will be over, unless you get this off your chest. Okay? I know what happened. Jeff. I know you're not a bad man. I know you're not a bad man. I know you just took it too far. What happened, Jeff? What happened? You pushed it too far one night, didn't you, Jeff? Things got out of hand. Tell me. And Jeff said, yes. And he starts crying. And the detective says, all of them? And he said, mm-hmm. All 3? And he said, all 3. He said, all right, good job. Where are they? Where are they now, Jeff? And he said, dead.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Funny, but terrible at the same time.
Yep.
The cop was caught so off guard by this sudden admission. He didn't even know what to do. He was like, where are the, well, what's this then? I mean, shit, he's answering questions. Fuck, man. He thought maybe the other cops were playing a joke on him and put mail hop. Basically, he thought maybe this was all a big punked. And like, this whole thing's a joke. This isn't a real case. And that they got this guy as like an actor to come in and confess to serial killing because it's too stupid.
Holy shit.
He actually was like, am I being punked? He just said yes and cried and said all 3. Nobody does that. So he said, where are they? And he said, they're in garbage bags.
Oh, God damn it.
He said, garbage bags where? He goes, I just dumped them in trash containers. They talk about all around Woonsocket. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, are you going to show us where you put these girls, Jeff? And he said, yeah. So he's going to do that. He said that this whole thing, they talked about what happened. He said, wow. He goes, I just want to be totally honest. I don't want to hide it anymore. I don't want this shit inside me anymore. I want to do what I have to help this situation in any way I can, and I want that to be my last act. I'm not expecting forgiveness. So he said over the years, he's picked up as many as 30 prostitutes. He said took him back to his apartment most of the time because he didn't want to get arrested in a car somewhere, which is whatever. He couldn't recall exactly how many women he choked, but he guessed 10 or 12 survived and escaped. And they said, what happened? And they said, okay, you're doing the right thing. You know what? A lot of people are going to be thankful for this. He goes, you got to think hard. You're the only one that's got to tell us where the girls are. How did you fit them in trash bags? He said, cut them up. Oh, God. He said, you cut them all up? Where? He said, my house in the bathtub. What did you cut them up with? A saw. What kind of saw? Just a regular saw you can get in Lowe's, just a wood cutting saw. He didn't even use a circular saw. He used a fucking hand saw that they found downstairs. That's what he used. They said, are we talking electric? And he said, no, just a hand saw. And the guy said, hand saw? Like, holy shit, you have to put in some effort to do that.
That is personal.
And horrific. And he said, mm-hmm. He said, each girl was cut up. Mm-hmm. 3. So then at this point, they ask him if he wants a soda or a cigarette just to keep him going. They want to keep him going. And he says that, wow. He says, so you put them in what type of trash bags? He says, trash bags? Yeah, we just said that, stupid.
What kind?
Where'd you get them? He said, like at Walmart, the drawstring kind.
Oh, boy.
Jesus. He said, did you already have them? He said, no, actually I did. I had them the first time. Okay, the first time you already had the trash bags. After that, did you go out and buy them? He said, no, I already had them. He buys in bulk, people. He's got a lot of trash bags.
Are trash bags only for disposing of body parts?
That's it. Nothing else.
James, I'm a potential murderer. I have so many trash bags.
I do too. I buy them when they're on sale. They said, who was the first girl? And he said, she was, and pointed at Audrey. Mm-hmm. They said, do you remember the date? He said, last year, February or March. She was cut up and put in a trash bag and disposed of where? And he said, Rock Ridge Apartments and the Brunswick Bowling Alley.
Oh, boy.
So he said, okay, different parts, different places. He said, yeah. The second girl, where is she? Same thing. I did the same thing for all three. That was earlier this year. They go over the time. The last one, probably about a month ago. He said, all the girls were choked. Do you remember what night you picked up Stacy Goulet? I don't remember the exact night. Around the 4th, they said it was around the 4th of July. He said probably around the 4th of July, probably right around that time. I'm not sure. Picked her up on Arnold Street in front of Warehouse Liquors. They said, okay, this young lady right here, the first one, Audrey Harris, how many pieces did you cut her up in? And let's describe how you actually went about this.
Oh, God.
And he said, yes. And they said, head? And he, yes. And he said, limbs, head, torso, cut in half from the waist, is what he said. Okay, each one was placed in a plastic bag? No, each one was placed in several bags, probably like 4 or 5 bags. Reason being, to make it smaller. When did you come up with this idea? Like a couple days after I did it. Where was she? She was in my bathtub. How long was she in your bathtub? I put her in there after I choked her. Why? Did you keep her preserved or anything like that? Like you're sitting in July with a decomposing body? Right. And he said, no. No, but you were able to stay in your apartment with her in your bathtub? Did you sleep while she was there? And he said, while she was there, yes, I did. Wow. There was no smell given off or anything like that. No one else lives there. He's all alone.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. At one point, he got up to his feet to demonstrate his choking technique. Mm-hmm. He said, I lean back so it puts more pressure on their neck.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. He said, he was giving details. He said his victims fell to the floor unconscious. Both were up in minutes, and they tried to get out. So he said, He figured he had to do more. He said one said she's standing in the bedroom saying, please, master, let me go, because they're doing like a role-playing thing there.
Thing, yeah.
I think she offered me my money back. And he said, any of these girls fight back? That was when he let go. Did they cut you or anything? He said, a couple of scratch marks. One of them gouged my eye to get away. And finally, they talk about Audrey Harris. He said he was at a strip club and drank too much, and he picked her up. They agreed on $30 for sex. And he was thinking he was going to have sex with her. He wasn't thinking he was going to kill her. He said, I was going to have sex with her, just straight sex. She asked for the money. And he said that when I got in the house, I just gave her a little tour of the house and went into my bedroom. She got undressed. I got undressed. I was wearing a pair of shorts and she was totally naked. Then she asked me for money and I went to give her the money and she turned around and that's when I went from behind and just started choking her. And he said it was probably 7 or 8 minutes and that they were in the apartment before that. Said just talking. And he said he was really drunk. He doesn't remember much of that. He said there was no arguing. Just that was it. He said she was kicking and scratching, trying to get away. As she was losing her breath, she stopped struggling. Then I let her go. I looked at her. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't looking at anything. I figured she was dying. That's when I got the pillow. I suffocated her, too.
Oh, boy.
So the cop says, so it wasn't accidental. And he said, no, obviously not. So he didn't say obviously not. Right. So, he talked about all of this. He talked about all the different girls kicking and screaming, and they're struggling, and no one heard it because there's nobody there. Jesus Christ. He says about the other girl, he saw blood bubbles coming up, and he figured she was dying, but then she was breathing, so he suffocated another one too. To do that, he said it was just an urge, no particular reason why it happened, just an urge to do it. He said, after I took the pillow off, I, stood back for a few minutes, just kind of looking and pacing around, not knowing what to do. Then he went to sleep.
Good Lord.
He went to sleep, and next day he went to Walmart. He got plastic heavy tarps and a carpet, and he rolled her up in that, put her in his truck, and drove her to go dump her somewhere in the city or in the town of Woonsocket, and instead thought he was going to get caught, so he got paranoid, brought her back to the house, picked her back up, brought her back inside, and that's when he decided to dismember her. So that's
how
when he's
you
like,
feel
all right.
driving around Texas with weed in the car?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a dead body in the bed of your pickup truck?
With a fucking carpet? Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. So he said that, how did he figure this out? He goes, well, I thought about The Sopranos, And when they killed Ralphie, that's what they did. When they killed Joey Pants there, Joe Pantoliano, he goes, they called Tony, and then, or Tony had to call everybody, and they cut him up in the bathtub, and that's how they got rid of him. So he was like, I guess that's what you do.
Wow.
So he goes, I figured that's it. He went into his bedroom and changed into his Kid Rock T-shirt. He did this with a Kid Rock T-shirt on, basically. You got latex gloves, a Kid Rock T-shirt, and with red, white, and blue Kid Rock letters, and a handsaw. And he went to fucking tackle this.
That's what you wear if you're painting the bathroom.
Yep.
That's what he's doing. He's painting it red, so may as well wear the white uniform.
He said he draped Audrey's head over the side of the tub and sawed it off.
Oh, God.
That's how he started. Sawed off arms and feet, draping each body part over the tub, finally cut her torso in half. And all that sort of shit. Other dismemberments, he did the same thing, basically. He did the exact same thing. Drove around to different, he just got better at it.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. He drove around. You think he would have got an electric saw at some point, but he kept with the saw there.
You stick with what works, I think.
Yeah. They said, what were you thinking about when you're driving around to get a prostitute, sex or choking? And he said, sex. I wasn't thinking about choking. And they said, what's the big rush? I'd say he said, I'd say maybe actually getting them into my place. And the guy said, the door shuts, and he said, you could say it like that. Yeah. Then he's got them then. He feels like he can possess them then and do what he wants with them. And then they said, let me ask you a question. If you had the chance to kill again, would you? And he goes, I probably would. Then, once they were like, all right, I think we got everything, we'll get back to you, he goes, quote, I'm sorry I lied to you guys.
I'll see you around, guys. I got a bike week this week.
Yeah. And they said, quote, Jeff, listen, we deal with this stuff a lot, okay? We understand these things happen, okay? We understand that things like this happen. Now, you've come this far, okay? And again, I do really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope you feel a little better about this whole thing. And he said, mm-hmm. And, yeah, that was that. And also, by the way, they said, they tried to get him to confess to more. They go, there's other girls that haven't turned up. And he said, mm-hmm. And they said, he said, no, there's not. I'm not going to confess. He goes, I'm not going to confess to 3 and not confess to any more. Okay. But there's a girl that was missing his last apartment right down the street from him.
Oh,
a prostitute missing. So they think that he admitted to the ones that he knew they had him dead to fucking rights on. Right. And there's more.
For sure.
There's more.
There's got to be.
He said the
you don't get
Lee
comfortable butchering women in your fucking apartment. That's not number one.
That's not normal.
No.
He said the police officer, the detective said, for him it was all fantasy. He'd slip into this fantasy escape in his depressive world. And once he'd taken his first step, once he kills, he's like an alcoholic. He's had a taste, he's addicted, and there's no way he's going to stop. Now, his friends said, quote, the Jeff I knew was never quiet. This is the woman who dated him. He was always laughing. No matter what someone needed, he couldn't say no. Up to the day of his arrest, I could say nothing bad about him. An employee of the local strip club that he went to before he picked up Audrey, the K2U strip club.
All right.
He said, quote, I never had any suspicions whatsoever. In fact, when I first heard about the charges, I thought they made a mistake. That's what everybody says. Now, Christine Dumont's sister has a different...
Anybody that owns a strip club, if somebody's in there a lot and then arrested for murder, you should just go, we run a strip club. He was a regular. Of course he's a scumbag.
What do you think? He ate lunch here. He ate food. What do you want?
He was here when the sun was up. What are you talking about? Of course he's not a good guy.
Jesus Christ. Christine Dumont's sister recognized him.
Mm-hmm.
Said that she remembers him from being outside her apartment not long before her sister disappeared. Quote, he had dropped her off. He was yelling. She said that Christine came in telling her to lock the door because she just stole his money, which is her MO. And she said, she said, we've all heard it. People saying, well, it's because they're prostitutes. That's why they were killed. He didn't just kill my sister. He took away so many pieces of people's hearts. He made her out to look like she was trash. I don't feel any kind of relief in any way. I know justice will prevail, but it will take some time. She said, it's no comfort knowing he can wake up every day, he can eat, he can be among his people, open his eyes, and look in the sky while my sister is still in some landfill somewhere. Because the other two girls were never found.
Wow.
The other two women were never found. Never found. That's it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known anything. He did all of this. And he fit the profile to a T, too. When they did like a profile of it, they talked about a guy who he has to dehumanize people, basically see their victims as less than him. Talks about how, he's trying to replace his inadequacies and identities with identities that imply power and control. I'm a wrestler. I'm a Harley guy. I'm a fucking, you see a lot of guys do that, but they don't kill anybody. Right. How many guys do you know like that? I know 10 guys like that. So it's just a thing. Yeah, I'm a thing now. Look at me. Yeah. They're looking for a thing. Right. But yeah, he says, as long as he can hold on to these wrong-headed notions as he's riding the streets of filth. But once he's apprehended and gets some feedback, the fantasy bursts and he realizes he's done some despicable things. So then he can basically stay in his fantasy world where all of this is okay. Right. And they said that he says that while his parents were kind and loving, their early deaths could have affected him a lot.
I'm sure it did.
It affects a lot of people, but they don't kill everybody. He said, we're talking about frustration, catastrophic losses in this guy's life. I think that's a key to understanding why. He said, when did you first know something inside you wasn't right? 20s, 30s? How old are you now? And he said 20s, 30s. I'm 33 right now. Somewhere in like my 20s, I knew something wasn't right. It's usually about 30 is the average age that a serial killer will start killing.
Really? Takes
them that long to build the fantasy up and to have to do it. That's the thing. So, they said, he said, I think alcohol may be a trigger, but it's something inside me. He said, I have a problem. That's what he said.
I agree.
Yeah. He decides to plead guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder because he doesn't, I don't think, want all of these details coming out in court.
No, and that's hard to rebut.
Yeah. 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of assault. He says at the sentencing, quote, nothing I can do can take away the pain. I hope God can give the families, both victims and my own, some peace. The judge says, you, sir, may fuck off, life in prison.
That's okay. Yeah.
Chance of parole after 40 years, though.
That's not good.
He's eligible for parole in 2047, where at least
not
he'll
good
be
at all.
Old enough to where hopefully a woman could fight him off if they had to.
But the frail in wheelchairs and children are not safe.
No, they're not. That's what I mean. Even Goulet's ex-husband, Steve Craig, who was accused of that shit, he says that, quote, I still get nauseous when I see garbage trucks. I try not to ride behind them. Another piece of impact here. January 2008, Robert Dumont, a relative, obviously, her brother there, Christine's brother, was found dead in a holding cell. After he was brought into the police station. He'd been arrested for breaking into an apartment across the hall from where he lived, and they said he was standing against the bars and not moving, and they found that he tied his shirt around his cell and hung himself. His longtime girlfriend said that he became very depressed ever since his sister Christine was murdered in 2004. He's never been the same, and he's tried to kill himself before, and it just didn't work. So now Jeffrey's in prison. And he's got his ex-girlfriend exchanges letters with him. She says, quote, he sounds upbeat. I wrote back and asked, did you ever feel that way, that rage with me? And he said, never. She was like, was I almost killed?
Why wasn't I special?
Yeah. Other people in the jail have said that he's pretty open about talking about it. He doesn't care. He just talk about it. His last known address was Jeffrey Mailhot 126800, maximum security, P.O. Box 8273, Cranston, Rhode Island 02920. So if you want to yell at him and call him a piece of shit, that's where you can reach him. Then in 2010, he was trying to sell shit. He made an outline of his left hand, and it was available for $34.99 on some horse shit, one of those murder fucking jerk-off sites.
Fucking assholes. Like a fucking Thanksgiving turkey kind of thing?
Yeah, ridiculous. The only the only one of these ladies I could find where she was buried is Stacy Goulet, who's buried in the Saint Jean Baptiste Cemetery in Norfolk County, Massachusetts.
Well, that's because the other two
are
are still in the landfill, James.
That's what I mean. We don't know where they are. So now there's very quickly, two other guys. We never do this on this show, but this is so specific. There are two guys named Jeff Mailhot in the Northeast who do not need this publicity.
Poor bastards.
One is a Minnesota University basketball assistant coach who used to serve as an assistant coach at Iona. He works for Rick Pitino's kid. And another one, this guy, the worst. And I'm saying this because please go to this guy if you have a problem. Dr. Jeffrey Mailhot. He's a dermatologist. He's got, out of 11 ratings, he's got 5 stars on healthgrades.com. He looks like a pleasant guy. I'm pretty sure he has never strangled anybody.
He knows all
Please
about your skin and will not make a lampshade out of it, as far as we know.
And how much business has he lost, honestly? A ton. I'll go to the guy I'm not going to Jeffrey Dahmer's acupuncture. I'm just not doing it, no matter how much he's not that Jeffrey Dahmer. It just sounds weird. And he's in Massachusetts, too. It's right there.
I'm not going to Dennis Rader's chiropractic.
No. Yeah, come on, hop up on the table. I'll give you an adjustment. So that is Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and Jeffrey Mailhot, and Christine and Audrey. That's just a terrible Stacy, Christine, Audrey. That's just an awful fucking story.
What a story.
A terrible, terrible man. Holy shit.
Can you imagine how long he could have gotten away with that? I mean, 2004, thank fuck that they got it together, that 3 victims is about as far as you can get now.
But
you know what I mean?
think there's more.
There's got to be, right?
There's more that he just hasn't admitted to, but it wasn't science and technology that got him. Yeah. It was someone who got away going to the police and giving a physical description. Fuck. It's a thing. So if you liked that show, or at least enjoyed the crazy ass story, or how we told it, I should say, because no one would like that story. Get on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, tell the world about it, because it really does help a lot. I don't know why, but it helps drive you up the charts. More people find the show, and that's good for everybody, especially our wallets. So please do that. It helps a lot. Also, you can follow us on social media at Murder Small on Twitter, and at Small Town Pod on Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You can find out all the dates, the rescheduled dates for our live shows. Whenever they are rescheduled, we post them there, and then they're on shutupandgivememurder.com, which is where you can go for everything small town murder and crime and sports related. And you want to do that, get your merchandise, tickets to all the live shows for 2022. 2022? Yes, 2022. I almost said 2025. I had to stop myself. 2022. Yeah, enough. 2022, get all your tickets for that. And like we said, Nashville is going to be sometime in the second week, I believe, of January
11th and 12th. January 11th, January 12th.
We have Small Town Murder and Crime and Sports there, so we're not sure which night is which, but it's one of those 2 nights. If you go to shutupandgivememurder.com, you can find out too. So check that out. Patreon.
The other thing, real quickly, James, the Nashville show, they don't have they changed their ticketing system, and they don't have emails to email people that their tickets have been moved. So go to the website and check it. God damn it.
We changed our ticketing system to make it less good. We were like, this is way too convenient. Way too many people know what to do, and let's make it so it's a lot more confusing. What do you say, everybody? Perfect. Great.
Emails didn't go over, so
Zanies?
Just
come on, Zanies.
11th and 12th.
Jesus Christ. Lucy, you can do something about that.
Yes.
Probably. At least you can yell at someone to do something about that.
She's better than that.
She's great. She's way better than that. That is piss poor, and I know that frustrates her too, probably. So
I'll bet it does.
Check that out. Get your tickets right now. But Patreon, this week, we have so much good stuff on Patreon. Patreon.com/crime and sports. 2 episodes this week. We have backstage wrestler fights, which are hilarious, drugged up, roided up dudes fighting each other. Can't go wrong there. But for real and backstage. That's a lot of fun. We're going to have that. We're going to have hotel rooms and everything. And then for Small Town Murders bonus episode, but you'll get access to everything with just the $5. That gets you access to both shows, Patreon, the whole back catalog, the whole deal. We're going to do Old Timey Murders, which is one of our... It's like one of my favorites. It's like prisoner dating game and personal ads and old timey murders. Those are my three like favorite bonus topics. Where we're going to go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and get some murder on and see what's up with that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Patreon.com/crime and sports. In addition to that, Jimmy will give you a shout out at the end of the show, read your name off, and mispronounce your name brutally.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. So you can check that out there. And if you just want to be a great person with good karma and get a shout out at the end of the show because you're a producer, you can do that over at PayPal as well using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. That said, there's nothing else I need. I need to feel better after that dirty, disgusting story of this terrible person. I need to feel warm and cuddly by hearing the names of my favorite goddamn people in the world who would never, ever drape our body parts over a bathtub, cut us up into tons of pieces, and drive around and sporadically dump us in different dumpsters. Jimmy, hit me with those names.
Real
right
verbal teddy bear.
This week's executive producers are Damon Stevens, Jordan Bennett. Simon Shedd got a new job, and he had a birthday this week. Good for
Happy
you,
birthday,
Simon.
He's good for you guys. Thank you. Yeah, they're awesome people. Thank you.
Other executives this week are Ann Fountain, Amanda Powers, Connor Thomas, Christy Barrows, and she donated every possible way that you can. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you so much.
Eric Crabtree, Justin McAlexander, Darren Weiferich, I think. Yes. Darren? Did I say Darren? I don't even know what I said.
Darren, whose wife is rich.
Yes. Other producers this week are James Martyr, Jennifer Stevens, Carl Kirshner, Peyton Meadows, my little buddy Jalen Tross. He messaged us on PayPal because I was like, I don't want to. I said they lost their grandparent because I didn't know what to say, and then realized I don't have to assume a gender because they is fine. But Jalen wrote to make sure that I understand. Jalen is a boy, so now we know that.
Okay, so now we know that. We didn't know.
Got all that clarification.
I think it's just because we made a mistake and we were like, is that? Who knows? And then we were like, well, shit, we just gave them.
Right.
We just gave them a gender, so I don't know.
Thank you, Jalen. You're a good kid. Hang in there. Keep being amazing. Also, Liz Vasquez, Alejandro Martinez. That's a
beautiful.
Isn't that a who sings that? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Navigators USA Chapter 110. Terror and Fordham Baldies. Richard Johnson donated in memory of Fawn Leibowitz, and it was his birthday, and I called him on Instagram, he didn't answer. I think it was his birthday. I don't know. Somebody just wanted me to call him.
Leibowitz. Why does that name sound familiar?
Fawn Leibowitz. I don't know. Is that a joke somewhere?
Is that an OJ's? Is that one of Nicole Brown's friends or something?
Don't look at me. I haven't got a clue.
I think it might be. I'll look it up while you're doing these.
All right. Mike Kuling, Maria Rasper, Megan Blank, Kelsey Couts, I think, Regina Phipps, Baron Ashkenazi? What?
Ashkenazi?
Yeah. Is that
There's an Australian pervert dirt bike rider with that last name. I hope it's not him.
Maybe it's Baron. I don't know. Also, Thomas Smith, Sam McHale, Jude Kendall, Alexi Knapp, Matt Britt got a new liver, and Maggie gifted him the CIS live show in the hospital. Thank you, Maggie. That was very nice.
That's awesome.
And
really
hang in there,
cool.
Matt. I hope you fucking rock that liver out. Good for you.
Hell yeah.
Also, Christy Kelly lost her pup Baxter, and he was a good boy, and she's very hurt about it, obviously. April Dunning's friend Megan Noosh had a birthday. Happy birthday, Megan, or Megan Noosh. I don't know if that's the real name. Janice Hill, also Jean-Leon Magnato, Raj, Rerun, Dwayne, and their mentor Shirley.
Yes, the What's Happening crew. I love it. Thank you.
Rear Admiral Jack Mehoff, of course. Well done. Avon Merger, Susanna Platt, Juan Epstein's Fro, Michael Halgsma. What? That might be me typing wrong. Dividas Maraskovas. Jesus Christ. DeForest Bloom had a birthday. Happy birthday, DeForest. Ashley Vio, Eric Curtis, Julie Maynard Standard, Tessa Hupp, Nick Nuremberg, E.W. Calavari, Amelia Wilson, Matt Hutchinson, Telly Hickey, Elizabeth Greenup, Kayla Moore, Kayla, that's Kayla Moore, Amanda Rebello. Amanda,
Jimmy. Amanda, really?
Right.
Okay.
Isabella, and also Amanda Holly, Isabella Quintana, Corinne Lemaire, Ryan Miller Shasky, Christina Rock, Heather Yarborough,
Yarbrough, yes. Nita Moore, Abigail Sheets, Gino Falk, Jim McCormick, Clay Campbell, Tiffany Cunningham, Amy with no last name, Kel Nelvell, Andrew Marist, Kimberly Easton, Roger Eckberg, Jordan C., Taylor Johnson, Christy Simmons, David Fuller, Amanda Wegman.
I love Amanda. That's my favorite name ever.
Amanda Wegman, Clayton Watson, John Manderfield, Michelle Bork, Skylar Stewart, Alana Abel, Heidi Johnson, Justin Killingbeck, Craig O'Mahony, Andreas, James Rhodes, James Blue, Michael Phaeton, Michelle Mazaris, Nick Libicap. Fuck these last names this week. Andrew Temple, Jennifer Shantz, Taylor Kench Merrick, Heather Gilliam, Jessica Collins, Daniela Rios, Ashley Milton, Mark Spears, Rachel Farmer, Kyle Hopkins, Julie with no last name, Unionize Your Workplace, Rory Douglas Cobb, Mary Borg, Susanna Beagle, Bianca Arano, Laurel, Laurel Fay, Michaela DeJager, Debbie R., Bailey Freer, stop it.
The wheels are coming off, everybody.
Frederick Keefe, Laura Chadwick, Elena Mitchell, Natalia Buxo Bergie, Amanda Barden, Brooks R., Tab Evans, Mark Connolly, Patrick Roseberry, Mary Sider, Liz Wilcox, Jennifer Dalton, Victoria Bollock, S. Brad, Nicole Carlson, Ace 2014508. That might be their social. I'm not sure. Jacqueline Cuscuna, Jolene Loritz, Kate Saccone, Tink with no last name, Natalie with no last name, Kyle Bierce, Cindy Moreau, Lee Searcy, Doc Strange. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Justin Weir, Brooke Hudson.
No.
What's that?
That's no.
I don't know for sure, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Brooke Hudson, Travis Parker. Say again.
I seem confused.
I'm very confused every week.
Right.
This is a fucking nightmare. Brooke Hudson, Travis Parker, Samantha Michelle, Erica Morris, Shelby Topham, Trin Gozier, Rosalie, Tammy Altman, Galactic Commander and Baby Girl, Catherine Campbell, Melissa Hawkins, Samantha with no last name, Drew Diddle. It's Diddle. My Christ.
Diddle.
That is tough. Fred Mercado, Christina Capizza, Charlie Bourne, Brandon Koch, Marcy Goodfellow, Kim Phillip, Jessica Rowe, Alyssa Rizzo, Emily Rowe, Laura Marshall. I think that's Marshall. Travis. Nope, that's Trisha. Trisha Rhea, Melissa Stotsky, Christopher Stalin, Kelly Flaherty, Tiffany Kaiser, Joe McNeary, Kate Cohane, Kit and Greg, Terry Dowdy, Savannah with no last name, Amy Montgomery. What is
I'm just laughing.
Arena.
Sorry.
Arena Strelitz, Donna Farron, Andy Drew, Lavelle, Shay Beaton, Joey Kirch, Lauren with no last name, Ryan Unruh, Connor Thomas, Madison East, Douglas Jameson, Randy Michelle Allen, Tyler Tharp, Amanda Foltz. Yep. Aislinn Partington, Heather Ling, Davey McCrory, John Welty, Devin Lee, Dean with no last name, Kayla Lacey, Jocelyn Sabori, and Rick Perando, and obviously all of our other patrons. You guys are truly amazing. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, everybody, so much, so much for everything that you do for us. We can't thank you enough for everything you do for us. We're blown away by it, and we're just grateful to you. So just thank you for doing everything you do for us. Hope you love the Patreon episodes. We put a lot of work into them because we really want you to love them because you're giving us money. Right. So, Jimmy, how can people tell you they love you? How can they do it?
Shit. I'm on the internet, on Instagram and Twitter, and I appreciate you guys being a part of that. Where can they find you?
You Google us. You know how to find us. Google the show, and it's on there somewhere. Follow us. Hang out with us. Keep coming back every goddamn week.
This guy found hookers to kill, James. They can find us.
That's true. Yeah, you can find us if you can find the right plastic wrap at Walmart to wrap a body in. That said, until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.